there are some problems here. Sorry, big time.
I'm so upset. Oh my God.
All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk is sparing with you guys. So we've got a hell of a show for you today. Charlemagne goes after Trump. Trump goes after Charlemagne. I go after 20 Democrats and Republicans defending politicians. I love
defending
the
the establishment.
Yeah. So that was on Jubilee over the weekend. We're going to discuss that. We got some clips for you guys. Yeah. Unfortunately, lots of Israel news. We are occupied. If you are an Israeli supporter, your feelings will be hurt tonight.
100%.
Guaranteed, okay? And let me start by saying I don't care about your feelings at all. And if you prioritize your feelings over the deaths of tens of thousands of children, there's something wrong with you.
Or the freedom and sovereignty of this country.
Right, no, we're occupied. We're gonna prove it to you in several different ways. Our officials are going and groveling at the feet of the Israelis, demanding that no one is allowed to boycott or protest Israel, that America bow down on its knees to Israel. So that's a fact, and we're gonna prove it to you today. And if you love Israel's genocide currently, not if you love Israel overall, if you love their current genocide, you're a sick person, and I'm going to enjoy hurting your feelings tonight.
Okay.
So that's how I feel about it. Let's get started.
All right, well, we're gonna begin with something entirely different because there's this huge debacle in regard to the Bureau of Labor Statistics jobs report, revisions to said reports, and how Trump has responded to it.
Mr. President, why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think our numbers were wrong.
You said the jobs report today were rigged.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think you'll see some very interesting information come out, but we got ready. You have to have honest reports.
Going forward, why should anyone trust the numbers?
Well, that's
and
the
if
big thing. You're right. No, you're right. Why should anybody trust numbers? So you know what I did? I fired her.
That's right, he fired her because the latest jobs report coming out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the revisions to previous jobs reports from both May and June of this year has upset President Donald Trump to the point where he has decided to fire the commissioner of the BLS. Her name is Erica McIntyre, and apparently he thinks that she's cooking the books, cooking the numbers, but is there any truth behind it?
No.
Now, let's get into the details of what the July jobs report indicated and what the revisions were for the previous 2 months. So jobs numbers came in below expectations for July at 73,000 jobs. Now, economists were expecting somewhere between 110,000 to 140,000 jobs. But now with the revisions that have been made for the reports that came out in May and June, it's very likely that even that 73,000 number might be revised to be lower. We're gonna have to wait and see. Now, here's where things start to get very strange, okay? So look, while tariffs are supposed to spur domestic manufacturing jobs, the sector has actually lost jobs. In fact, 11,000 manufacturing jobs in July alone. Now, the revised jobs report also indicates that the amount of jobs was overcalculated in June by a lot, by a whopping 258,000 jobs. Okay, so the original jobs report said that the economy added 147,000 jobs in June, then revised it down to only 14,000 jobs. Now look, I think that Trump is quick to retaliate against government officials that he disagrees with or he feels are like trying to go after him politically in some way. Put Trump aside for a second. How do you make a revision that big? How do you go from a whopping 147,000 jobs and revise it down to just 14,000 in June? Then you look at May. The previous BLS report said that the labor market added 144,000 jobs that month. Then the revision revised the number down to just 19,000 jobs added to the economy in May of this year. That's a pretty huge revision.
Yeah, okay, no, it's not that big a deal at all. The job numbers get changed all the time. She explains why the numbers are getting less and less reliable. We'll share that with you in a second. Guys, think about the conspiracy theory that Trump has. Okay, she had to adjust the numbers down for the last 2 months. Okay, well, what does that mean? That means she had the numbers grossly inflated the last 2 months.
Right.
So why was she doing that in favor of Donald Trump? That helps Donald Trump a lot the last 2 months, as he gets to say, you thought jobs were gonna go down. My tariffs are awesome. My big beautiful bill that's gonna give tax cuts to all the rich is awesome. Okay, if there's any conspiracy theory, it's that they made the job numbers look great so the tax cuts would pass. But there isn't. She's just a bureaucrat and a professional bureaucrat. I read up on her history, and these numbers fluctuate wildly because they're estimates, and then the real numbers or closer to the real numbers come in. They get changed up and down all the time. And I don't know why she would want to help Trump in the last 2 months if that conspiracy is true, and then decide, you know what? No, I'm against Trump. No, I'm gonna take the numbers down. So it makes 0% logical sense.
Exactly. Look, when it comes to Trump, and I want to be very clear because I don't want people to conflate what I'm trying to say. Trump has no evidence that the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics was cooking the numbers to hurt him in any way. Okay, I just made that statement. Please put that aside for a second. I get that the numbers do get revised. It does fluctuate. But Cenk, I mean, look, the big argument that we're hearing from economists and various experts who are being interviewed all throughout the media today is what Trump is doing is going to lead to distrust of this government agency. Fair point. But shouldn't we have been a little bit skeptical about the initial numbers coming out from this government agency anyway, given how much the numbers get revised and the extent to which they get revised?
No, Anna, I understand what you're saying. It's a perfectly legitimate question. The reason why I would say no overall is with the caveat. A caveat is, as again, we're gonna show you in a sec, that the numbers are getting less and less reliable as we go because of phones and being able to reach people, right? But overall, this has happened for time immemorial. This is not an agency that all of a sudden has this yo-yoing up and down and unreliable numbers. There are a lot of agencies like that. And overall, Anna, your point about we shouldn't trust the government in the first place is super well received. I totally agree, right? But this has been both, according to Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives, a fairly reliable part of the government that just does numbers. I mean, I'm sure he misspoke, but you heard on tape there, Trump saying, why should anyone trust numbers? We have to, I mean, numbers are facts. Numbers are as close to facts as you can get. But so that's why I get why you're bothered by it.
I am bothered by this.
Because it looked like it was a fact and now you're showing me a completely different number.
I'm sorry, but we are now in August. It is August. We just got the new jobs report, which included the revisions to May months ago and June, okay, 2 months ago.
But they do revisions like that all the time.
I know, but Cenk, to this extent, I mean, I'm sorry, how do you go from 147,000 jobs and revise it all the way down to just 14,000 jobs in June?
Because Anna, there's 330 million people in the country. That's why these numbers historically fluctuate. I've never seen any other president complain about fluctuations, including this size.
That's fair, that's fair. If that's what we're all gonna accept, then when the initial jobs report comes out and there's all these news stories about it, we should just ignore it. We should just ignore it.
No, but that's part of my point, which is that, so Trump wanted the credit from the last 2 months when apparently the numbers were inflated. And now that they fixed the numbers, he's like, no, that's it, I'm gonna fire her. And look, more important than any of this, guys, is, do we have a functioning government or is this a banana?
No, we don't, that's my problem.
Is this a banana republic? And so there's two different issues in this story. One is the one that Anna's pointing out, which is that we're having so much trouble trusting any of our institutions.
Exactly.
Because no matter where you go in the government, somebody has an agenda, right? Oh no, yeah, you gotta do that for Israel, you gotta do that for the oil companies. Wait, do you work for us or do you work for the goddamn oil companies, right? So that there's a failure of all of our institutions to earn our trust. And then secondly, now Trump has, instead of making it better, has made it worse.
Yes.
And so he pours fuel on that fire. It's like that Zoolander Sanders scene when they start pouring the gas all over themselves. And he's like, okay, I like your numbers the last 2 months, but this month I don't like your numbers politically. So I don't like your factual correctness. I'm gonna fire you for that. The next person should know I want political correctness. The politically correct position is the numbers always go up. But by the way, that's also super stupid if you're a Trump fan. And I don't mean the fans are stupid. I'm saying Trump's idea is stupid because if you like Trump, he's insisting that the interest rates go down, and you want the interest rates to go down. If the job numbers are lower, the interest rates are more likely to go down.
Get cut in September.
Right.
At this point, it's a near certainty that the Federal Reserve, based on these revisions in the jobs reports, will cut interest rates in September, which is something that Trump absolutely loves. But he's faced with a very clear paradox here, right? He wants easy money, okay, loves that cheap money from the Federal Reserve, which by the way, does distort our economy and does lead to asset bubbles. But okay, people love the cheap money, I get it, we're addicted to it in the United States. But at the same time, the Federal Reserve isn't gonna cut interest rates until they grapple with inflation, which had slowed down a little bit. But more importantly, remember what Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, has been saying repeatedly over and over again. One of the best indicators of whether the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates is if unemployment goes up. And these revisions make it clear that unemployment is starting to tick up a little bit. So for instance, hold on, before I forget, Cenk. So the rate of unemployment did increase just slightly from 4.1% in June to 4.2% in July. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, guys, if you're a Republican voter, you still like Donald Trump, you gotta expect better from your leaders. We asked our Democratic leaders to be better. We didn't get it, but we asked for it. You should ask for it too, because Donald Trump says, I want lower interest rates from the Federal Reserve, and I want higher jobs numbers. But guys, that doesn't make any sense. Higher job numbers means Fed is less likely to cut rates. So okay, so we explained that. So then take the next logical step. Oh my God, Trump doesn't even know the basics about economics. He doesn't know that if he wants the Fed to lower the rates, he should be happy that the job numbers temporarily are down. That's the perfect opportunity for him to say, see, I told you, you gotta lower the interest rates. Instead, he's like, me no like it, me want higher job numbers. But then the Fed won't reduce the rate. He doesn't understand that.
But the jobs number.
Jesus Christ, man, if you're a plumber, I get it. But if you're the president of the United States, do 1 hour of homework, brother.
This is why I say that he's confronted with a bit of a paradox, because he wants to look good. He wants to look as though his policies have spurred growth in our economy. But these numbers and the revisions that have now been put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics show that our economy has slowed down. Now, yes, that gives the Federal Reserve the perfect reason or excuse to cut interest rates, which Trump wants. But at the same time, yeah, it's gonna look like his economic policies, because there is some fact behind it, truth behind it, that some of his economic policies are starting to slow the economy down. I think the way that our economy works is pretty messed up. That in order to get access to cheap money through cuts in the interest rates, you need to see suffering among the American people in regard to joblessness. So let's get to some more details as we're now learning them as a result of this report. So in 2025, the industries that have seen the largest numbers of job cuts happen to be technology, 89,251 job cuts in that sector, and retail, 80,487 job cuts in that sector. So AI apparently has cut more than 20,000 jobs in the tech sector this year alone. And you also can't discount the fact that the federal workforce, which is counted into the jobs report, has shrunk by 84,000 jobs since January of this year, with 12,000 job losses in July alone. Now, the rate of wage growth has also been slowing down, but that's been the trend since 2022. Now, for those who are wondering, well, who is this commissioner? She is a career, federal government employee. So she spent most of her career at the Census Bureau. She is a numbers person. She led a program to produce economic statistics and finer grained detail on people and places for the census. Then in 2022, she joined Biden's White House Council of Economic Advisors. Biden then nominated her to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and she won confirmation early last year in a pretty significant vote, 86-8. But she's known for her nonpartisan work ethic and also served in Trump's first term. During Trump's first administration, his daughter Ivanka Trump led a White House initiative to bolster workforce training, which included McEnteffer, that's the woman we're talking about here, then at Census. McEnteffer was an important member of a team working on statistics for the project, which ended when Trump left office. Now, to be fair, again, BLS has made revisions historically. This isn't rare. The extent to which the numbers changed, though, I feel, or fluctuated over the last few months, I think is a little strange. But for one, data kept getting released early, and this is something that, this is kind of unrelated to the whole tiff with Trump, okay? But I think it's important to know this, and I think this should be investigated. So the Wall Street Journal uncovered the fact that in August of last year, the Bureau of Labor Statistics had released numbers to Wall Street 30 minutes before they did so to the general public. That's a problem. Some Wall Street firms received access to labor market data roughly 30 minutes before the public. They claim that it was an accident. I'm not gonna take anyone's word for it. Obviously, if Wall Street is gonna have information that the general public is not privy to, that retail investors are not privy to, they're gonna be able to make trades based on that information that the general public isn't privy to. So that should be investigated. And there are other issues as well and policy decisions at the center of the problem. For instance, the Wall Street Journal reported this year that the agency has increasingly relied on guesswork to calculate some of its biggest data releases because of staff shortages caused by a federal hiring freeze. Meanwhile, fewer families and businesses answer the phone when BLS workers call to conduct surveys. In recent months, the response rate for the survey that drives unemployment figures has hovered below 70%, down from nearly 90% a decade ago. So that goes to the point that you were making, Cenk. There's been some changes in how people respond to these types of surveys, and that has had a negative impact on the accuracy of the initial BLS reports.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you were saying. So that Wall Street getting the news half an hour before the rest of the public is unconscionable. They can make billions off of that. And it's insider trading 101. The head of the BLS did not do that. It was somebody inside the organization. Of all the things that we just covered in this story, that's the most important. Right. Because the rest of it is just fake, like Trump's feelings and stuff, right? So that's real. Who the hell leaked it to Wall Street? Because guys, think about it. I mean, billions turn on information like that. If they get $1 million, $10 million is nothing compared to what the money they can make. Our government's leaking like a sieve. And let's note for the record that when the Democrats were in charge, the Republicans said, we should do the Stock Act and no more insider trading by members of Congress. And Republicans are like, no. Now that they flipped, Republicans are in charge. Now the Republicans are like, no. And the Democrats are pretending they want to do it, right? So they're just giving information to themselves and to their donors nonstop. And that goes to Anna's point about losing faith in our institutions. There's only one piece of good news out of any of this, all right? Silver lining is, I was on Piers Morgan this morning, right? And what happened to Democratic supporters who were still saying, no, Joe Biden is young and dynamic, and they were getting swarmed and overwhelmed by everyone, right? Like, no, you're being ridiculous, especially after the debate, right? Now it's happening to Trump supporters who are just partisans. So Carrie Lake's on there going, yeah, we should fire anyone who disagrees with Trump. And everybody else is like, yeah, that's ridiculous. That's stupid, and we can't stand it anymore, right? So like the partisans are beginning to lose in a big way.
They should lose.
And I love it, I'm here for it.
We need accurate data and information, period, right?
Yeah.
And firing the commissioner solely based on politics, which is what Trump did, is wrong, and obviously I'm a million times against it. At the same time, clearly there are some issues at BLS, and they need to figure out how to improve their methodology in order to get accurate or as close to accurate numbers as possible.
Agreed, and final point goes to one of our members on TYT.com. Be part of the show, go to TYT.com/join and be part of our commentary on it. Brett Michael pointed out he does not want a banana republic. He said, give me an Anna republic.
Oh.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, I didn't
That
expect
sounds a
that
lot
one.
better, doesn't it? I'm here for it.
Thank you. All right, well, we're gonna take a break because when we come back, we're gonna switch gears and talk a little bit about foreign policy. This next story that we're gonna talk about has to do with us as the American people providing revenue to the federal government, specifically so the federal government protects us from things like natural disasters, unexpected tragedies, things like that. But now the government is threatening to deprive us of our own resources if we have the audacity to speak out against or boycott a foreign country. That and more coming up, don't miss it.
Back on TYT, let's go to TYT.com members. ZZ Mujin writes in, I saw Surrounded and Cenk owned every one of them. Look, I appreciate you saying that. I don't know that I owned everybody and I don't need to own everyone, but it was a really good, healthy debate. And by the end, yes, it seemed overwhelming that most of the viewers thought, this is, in fact, I like one of the comments, we'll talk more about it later in the show. Like, this is a little unfair because Cenk is obviously right. Right, and by the way, that's how you win debates, not by being smarter or whatever, just going to the correct position. Okay, so anyways, you can check it out for yourself. I appreciate all of you who wrote in about it, so let me give you a little bit more here from everyone. Doodle Dragon Imran said, love you TYT, go get him today on this mighty Monday. Thank you, brother. Over 9,000 said, TYT's back in action. It's the best damn day of the week. You're awesome, appreciate you. Just Read a Book said, Dear Cenk, I watched your debate with the 2020, that's the Jubilee Surrounded. Well done. I felt it was positive towards the end. However, my takeaway was that the American people expect peanuts and it's so disappointing. Until we begin to expect / demand more, I'm afraid we'll never get anywhere.
That was my takeaway exactly. I mean, we'll talk about it more later.
Yeah, but don't get too despondent because remember, Jubilee's picking people who are going to try to disagree with me, right? So they don't necessarily represent the country, and as you can tell in the comment section, they were overwhelmingly outvoted, right, by the viewers, and so they're not necessarily representative. It's just a debate in that context. Wang Jun says Cenk's Jubilee episode was pretty good. A lot of great discussions. Aside from that one guy who brought up the union BS, he clearly just came there to be obnoxious. He did a video afterwards. I'm not sure that he even did. I'm surprised by that too. I thought he did. I thought he came in to do an ambush. Now I think that maybe he didn't. But it's okay, guys. I addressed that point. It's perfectly easy to address. It's no big deal. I know that our detractors love to make a huge deal out of it. Like, oh my God, for like a minute there was a disagreement, but the 5 years of the union doesn't count. All right, whatever floats your boat. I mean, like those guys literally say their job is to destroy us. Are you surprised that they're lying about us? Right? So I mean, they said that I got jealous of Mehdi Hassan and that's why I went out on Jubilee. We taped on the same day. I mean, if you listen to liars, you're gonna get lies. So, Eclectic Miscellaneous said, I hear that TYT's on Substack now. Is it true that if I subscribe, I not only get TYT's shows, but also Substack only posts and fun videos about things like how much weight Cenk can bench press? Why? Eclectic, you're right. You do get videos like that. Okay, no, seriously. I noticed that you joined up on Substack too. I appreciate you, brother. So yes, we went live on Substack on Thursday night. Yes, I'm doing videos on there, and I'm going to do posts. And Cara, our community director, we're going to do more posts about how you could join the rebellion, how you could make a difference, right? And how you could bring hope back, and all the things that we're in favor of, and get policy. Eyes on the prize, etc. So check that out. Yeah, and I am doing, and guys, we'll eventually merge everything. But right now, yeah, I am doing some members only on Substack for the members there, and some members only on TYT.com and YouTube, which are connected, right? And by the way, if you're a YouTube member, you can connect your account to the TYT.com and get everything by going to TYT.com/connect, okay? And that's obviously free. Magical Trevor says, this is the way statistics is gathered. It's time to get accuracy. So they do, it takes time to get accuracy. So they do estimates based on so much reporting that is affected by so much and refined over time. A hurricane happens and data gets delayed. Revisions are necessary. You are right though, be skeptical of the data and let.
Cenk, you've got to stop working out.
right, back on TYT. Just to finish a thought here, Cenk and Anna, Magical Trevor had written in, he's a member on TYT.com, saying, be skeptical of the data and let this be a lesson to all of us to be more patient with these very complicated statistics. Because he explained that that kind of disparity does happen a lot, right? And the reason I got cut off during the social break, that's one of the reasons I came back to it. But the second reason is, I love when you guys, our members, add to the show by giving us your expertise or your experience, either in a particular city or in a field. So thank you for doing that, we appreciate you. And CD and Norse Dad, Dog Dad, thank you for giving 2 memberships on YouTube, we also appreciate that. All right, Casper, what's next?
All right, let's take a look at what's going down with some foreign policy.
5 more people have died from malnutrition in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of deaths from lack of food since the start of the war to 180, including 93 children. Hospital officials say at least another 27 Palestinians were killed seeking aid when Israeli troops opened fire at 2 different locations near aid distribution points in Gaza on Sunday.
And that's because those aid distribution sites are nothing more than death traps for Palestinian civilians. And now Israel has announced its intention to steal the whole of the Gaza Strip while ethnically cleansing the land of Palestinians, which anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together was warning about for well over a year at this point. But we've been gaslit to basically believe that no, most moral military, Israel would never do such a thing. Now they've announced it. According to Drop Site News, senior official in Netanyahu's office says, we are moving to occupy the Strip. The decision has been made. Hamas will not release more hostages without complete surrender, and we will not surrender. If we do not act now, the hostages will die of starvation and Gaza will remain under Hamas control. Now, I want to be clear, Hamas on multiple occasions during ceasefire negotiations has offered to release every single hostage, both living and those who have died. The only sticking point at this point, when it came to the ceasefire, by the way, Hamas even gave up on a permanent ceasefire. They were willing to take a temporary ceasefire as long as humanitarian aid flowed into the Gaza Strip. The only sticking point, because Israel kept changing the terms of the deal, was that Israel wanted complete demilitarization of the Gaza Strip. Well, you do that, and what do you think happens? You don't have a country, you don't have a 2-state solution, nothing. Israel comes and takes over. And now they're just saying, yeah, we're just gonna come take over anyway. We're gonna
we don't care about the hostages, we don't care about anything. Self-defense, we have a bunch of idiots on American cable news are still saying that for us.
Yeah.
I like how they work for us instead of their own news organizations. Anyways, so this is now declaring we're doing a genocide. Just to back up what Anna's saying about the ceasefire negotiations, Steve Witkoff, Trump's negotiator, said, look, the fundamentals of a deal is the hostages for peace and Israel gets out. And that makes sense, that's very logical. That is supposed to be the essence of it. And Israel goes, no, I want the hostages back. And after a small pause, I'm going to go back to annihilating Gaza.
That's exactly right.
Well, that's not an offer. That's just not an offer. And anyone saying that Israel's not at fault for backing out of those negotiations is lying on behalf of Israel. So you should ask them, why do you keep lying for a foreign government? What a weird thing to do if you work in American media.
Because we're an occupied nation. Let me give you some statements from Israeli government officials and members of the Israeli media, by the way, just to reinforce what I'm saying here. This isn't just some anonymous government official in Israel saying that they're gonna occupy Gaza. So for instance, you have Amit Siegel of Israel Channel 12. He's basically the equivalent of the host for Meet the Press in Israel. He says,
and a right winger, so he has good sources inside the government.
He says, senior official in Netanyahu's office, the decision has been made, we're going to occupy Gaza. Here's another example. Amichai Stein, the diplomatic correspondent for I-24 News, also reported that the prime minister's office briefed this evening that a decision has been made by the PM for a full occupation of the Gaza Strip, including operations in areas where hostages are held, and conveyed a message to the chief of staff, if this does not suit him, you should resign. And by the way, if you take issue with this, as I do, because it's clearly stealing land, engaging in genocide, ethnically cleansing the Palestinian people from Gaza, and you might want to consider joining the BDS movement. Maybe you're successful in convincing lawmakers in your municipality or state to boycott Israel. Well, guess what? The federal government is warning you. We will deprive you of the very resources the taxpayers in your city and state have paid into. So the Federal Emergency Management Agency stated in grant notices posted on Friday that states must follow its terms and conditions. Those conditions require they certify they will not sever commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies to qualify for funding. What funding, you might ask? FEMA funding. So if your city or state has decided to boycott Israel because they take issue with, genocide and the slaughter of innocent people, well, the federal taxes that you pay into, you'll be deprived of if you need it as a result of a natural disaster or any type of emergency.
Yeah.
Okay, that is some of the most disgusting America last garbage I've ever heard in my life. There needs to be a revolt because the fact that we are working hard, paying our taxes, and the federal government is basically telling us, no, we don't like the political cause you're engaging in, so we're gonna deprive you of those resources is unacceptable.
Yeah, we're all Palestinians now. This is the beginning of how it feels to be living under an occupation. But Israel has done an amazing job. Of occupying 330 million people, demanding all of our money, demanding that we support a genocide, demanding that we take money out of our paychecks to go kill over 20,000 innocent children in Gaza and to starve them to death. They're saying you must support our fascist government. You don't have a choice. And by the way, if you boycott it and a hurricane wiped your house out or a tornado did, shut up and serve Israel. If your state dared to criticize or boycott Israel, you American, you're not gonna get your taxpayer dollars. We'll take it from you, and I don't give a goddamn what happened to your house or to your family. You're just a lowly American. We're gonna give it to the almighty Israelis instead, because they haven't murdered enough Palestinians yet. Now, if you're an Israeli and you're catching feelings, I don't give an F. You can go stuff those feelings in a deep hole. Okay,
100%.
So I don't. So
if your priority is Israel, then I have no interest in even having a conversation with you. My interests, okay, are taking care of the American people with the resources that we provide to the federal government, to federal coffers. The idea that criticism of a foreign country should lead to the deprivation of government services for the American people is so infuriating. And I'd like to ask Israel supporters, okay, what exactly do you think this does in your quest to fight anti-Semitism? Seriously.
You idiots, you're driving anti-Semitism through the roof. You effing morons, you're gonna get people hurt. We're trying to stop you, not because we hate you, but because we think it's not, if you're a friend, you don't go, hey, yeah, let's go into a bar fight with 13 guys that have AK-47s and we'll have nothing. Yeah? No, pull them out of the bar fight. What are you, nuts? So Israel's genius plan is to starve Palestinian children in front of the whole world.
Yeah.
And then be surprised when they get hated.
To shoot them in the face, to shoot them in the head and the chest, and to just sit idly by and accept it. Yeah. We have to fund the slaughter, we have to fund the genocide, we have to fund what's happening to those poor kids in Gaza right now. And then on top of it, we have to just shut up. Shut up, you're just a pay pig for Israel, nothing more. The requirement applies to at least $1.9 billion that states rely on to cover search and rescue equipment, emergency manager salaries, and backup power systems, among other expenses, according to 11 agency grant notices reviewed by Reuters. And by the way, if you think that's bad, it's about to get worse. So get a load of this. Under one of the grant notices posted on Friday, FEMA will require major cities to agree to the Israel policy to receive a cut of $553.5 million set aside to prevent terrorism in dense areas.
Unbelievable! How much are they going to rob us? $311 billion at a bare minimum in inflation-adjusted dollars has gone from American citizens working their ass off to barely get by to Israel. When are we gonna get the money back? Now they're using our money to slaughter children and saying, if you complain, anti-Semite, ruin him, destroy him. I don't control America. Oh, the politicians, I bribed 400 out of 435 members of Congress, but don't say anything. If you say anything, you should be fired. You should be arrested. You should be, don't you know Israel controls America? Oh, no. We don't control America. We don't control America. But if you dare criticize us, all of your money should be taken away. You should be fired. And if you're on a college campus, arrested, denaturalized, deported. But we don't control America. We are the #1 donors to Joe Biden throughout his career. We're the #1 donors to Donald Trump throughout his career. We're the #1 donors to 100% of Republican leadership in Congress. The #1 donors to 75% of Democratic leadership in Congress. The #1 donors in this election cycle to members of Congress. But we will get every lying moron in cable news to tell you, you can't say Israel controls America. That is very, very offensive. Murder those children right in front of our eyes, not offensive. Not offensive. Give me your goddamn money. Israel hasn't murdered enough children yet. Give me your goddamn money, okay? But I'm offended. I'm offended that you're using my money to murder children with a sick genocidal government. Now, by the way, it's over, guys. They just said they're gonna occupy all of Gaza. We shared that with you in the beginning. So that is them saying, yes, we had genocidal intent all along. When Netanyahu brought the Greater Israel map to the UN and said, this is what I'm gonna do. And he's doing it now.
Yep.
From the river to the sea. Netanyahu also said that. He's like, if anyone says from the river to the sea to the Israelis, they should be murdered, they are terrorists. And then he turned around the next speech, he's like, Israel should do from the river to the sea. And then he's doing it. He's doing it right in front of our eyes and with our goddamn money.
Well, Israel's the only
you're
country.
Offended? F your offense. F your offense. I don't care if you're a sick enough person to be more offended at criticism of your goddamn beloved Israel. But you're not offended at all those starving children. There's something depraved inside your soul.
I'm an American, why would I care about Israel? Why would I, as an American citizen, give a damn about Israel?
Okay.
Why is that required? Why is that mandatory in the United States? Could it be because we are an occupied nation? We're not a sovereign country. Every other issue we talk about on this show, Cenk, doesn't even matter.
Because it's not our country.
You want to talk about tax policy? You want to talk about tax policy with me right now? Okay, I'm at a point where I don't want to pay a single dollar to the federal government. I don't trust the federal government. The fact that they're holding federal money hostage and depriving our fellow American citizens of the resources they're entitled to is infuriating.
Okay, so on TYT.com we asked this question. What was Israel's plan in Gaza? A, self-defense all along. Did anybody answer that? Good, 0%. Obviously, you'd have to be a moron to answer that, especially after they told you, yeah, well, you did it to steal Gaza. They just said it. All right, number B, that's funny. Self-defense in the beginning, but ethnic cleansing now, 20% say that. Ethnic cleansing to take over Gaza all along. Oh, look at that, 80%. But look, it just got started in the voting, so that doesn't really matter. You can go vote now, and I'm curious how you guys are gonna vote going forward. That's just the initial couple of votes. All right, look, guys, the reason we asked that question is, are we still having this conversation? Is there anyone still pretending that this is about self-defense? We're literally 2 years from October 7th, 2023. They have 20 hostages. They kill 20, 40, 100 people a day. They did it again in the last 48 hours, killed over 100 people, great number of them children. So what we're supposed to care about, the 20 Israelis, more than 20,000 Palestinian children, 61,000 Palestinians overall at a bare minimum. But they say that with a straight face, like we are the superior people. So our people are worth their weight in gold. They're worth 10,000 of your people. So we're slaughtering because we care about the lives of the 20. Well, why don't you care about the lives of the 61,000 or the 2.2 million that you've now absolutely devastated their lives?
Have you not heard the way they talk about them, Cenk? They don't even see them as human.
Yeah.
They don't see Palestinians as human. There are so many videos of powerful people in Israel just openly saying, yeah, those children should starve to death. Yeah. I'm not even kidding. Rabbis, government officials. I mean, it goes on and on. It's just hilarious to me, right? Because they say it out loud, they say it with their whole chest, and then here in the context of the United States, they send their little mouthpiece propagandists like Shabbos Kestenbaum to go on Piers Morgan and just lie straight to our faces about what's happening on the ground in Gaza. Okay. As if we're idiots and we don't see it, we don't hear it. It's all in front of us every single day.
So we just had a vote just 2 weeks ago, $500 million more to Israel. Give me your money, give me your money. This is a stick up, okay? Well, and so they say, oh no, it's for defense, it's for Iron Dome. Then you look into it, 60 million is for Iron Dome, 440 million is for other missiles. I mean, everything Israel says is a lie, and everything our lying politicians say is done on behalf of Israel, okay? So they took money out of our paychecks, again, just like 10 days ago, to send another $500 million to murder more Palestinians. As the Israeli government proudly announces now, we're gonna occupy all of Gaza. We were gonna take the land all along, you idiots, you schmucks. Send me more money, all your politicians are mine. Wait, that's not fair. It was probably a closed vote. I mean, in the middle of a genocide? Can you imagine if we sent the Nazis money in the middle of the Holocaust? $500 million, and we said, no, it's okay. We're just giving it to the Nazis defensive purposes, to protect the German people. We're not giving it to them for the Holocaust that they're doing. We're giving it for defense of Germany. I mean, I hope to God that you would be morally outraged by that. If we gave the Ottoman Empire in the middle of the Armenian genocide $500 million to kill more Armenians, we said, no, it's for Turkish defense. Everybody would have found it absolutely absurd. But as Israel does it, they're like, no, not absurd. So was the vote close? 422 to 6.
Disgusting.
To send more money to kill more Palestinians. So all the Republicans except 2, all the Democrats except 4. You're telling me we're not occupied? You're telling me we're not occupied. You're telling me that AIPAC and Israeli lobby does not control Congress? If you're saying that, you're not a journalist, you're a liar. And you have to look into yourself as to why you're choosing to lie on behalf of a foreign government. Oh, well, people will take offense. Well, people take offense at all the slaughter of the innocent children in Gaza. People take offense at the starvation of an entire population, but you don't care about that. All you care about is whether someone offends Israel. So are you a journalist? Is there a single journalist at the New York Times or Washington Post or cable news at all? No, all dogs of Israel going, oh no, you can't say they control our Congress. It was only 422 to 6. And okay, what are the 6? Tom Massey, you know what's happening? $2 million already against them a year and a half before the election. A year and a half. 1 million from Paul Singer, massively pro-Israel. $750,000 from Miriam Adelson. $250,000 from John Paulson. So pro-Israel supporters in America saying, how dare you defy Israel? Tom Massey will be canceled. Well, I don't control Congress. I just buy every seat. And if anyone dares to criticize my real country, Israel, yeah, I said it. I mean, imagine if a bunch of traitors come in here and go, all right, everybody now works for Turkey. Okay, shut up and work for Turkey. Here's money that I give you just to represent that foreign government. And then you go, shh, you're not allowed to say it. You would offend the Turks. No one would believe any of this crap propaganda if it doesn't come with the magical word Israel in it. So yes, we're totally, utterly occupied. Israel runs this government, not America. And by the way, so the Republicans are corrupt. Oh wow, color me surprised. Those dog Democrats running around, I'm a little worried about Gaza.
Yeah.
And then, here, take your goddamn money, give it to Israel, give it to Israel. It's for defense. Guys, shut up. Okay, so last thing is, Knuckle Dragon, one of our members on TYT.com said, midterms should be about stopping Israel and Trump from causing any more suffering. If a genocide is not good enough reason to vote, I don't know what is.
But vote for what? Vote for what?
No. So great question and why I brought it up.
All pathetic cowards who spend all their time filleting a terrorist regime in a foreign country. That's what we have in terms of candidates. Okay, you want to know why they hate Zoran Mamdani so much? Because he had the gall to say out loud that he wants to represent the people in New York City as opposed to a foreign government.
How dare you? You must visit Israel first.
They call him a jihadist because he actually wants to represent Americans instead of Israelis. I have to say, this has been the most illuminating 2 years of my entire career. Because everything we've been talking about, everything that gets debated policy-wise in this country does not matter. How much you pay in taxes doesn't matter. How are you gonna pay taxes to a federal government who's gonna deprive you of resources when you desperately need it because you don't agree with a genocide in a foreign country?
Soon our children will be starving because we send all our money to Israel. When are we getting the 311 billion back? Why do we owe them? They say, well, it's for defense. But why do we owe them for their defense?
Because we likely have a bunch of pedophiles running the government.
Do we owe defense to Malaysia? Do we owe defense to Canada? Why do we owe Israel who is a nuclear armed country and has the only country that has Iron Dome. There is no country better protected than Israel. You owe them, Americans. If you don't take your money and give it to Israel, you're a hateful person. You hate Jews. I don't hate. Are you insane? I don't hate Jews. What does that have to do with me giving my money to a genocidal, maniacal government? No. So it's all a trick. If anyone defending Israel right now use the word anti-Semite, what that means is they despise Muslims and Palestinians and Arabs. They're deeply racist bigots who think that Palestinian lives don't matter at all. The only lives that matter are the supreme people, the Ubermensch, the Israelis.
Look, they're garbage people. They are providing cover for the slaughter of innocent people, including innocent, defenseless children.
Okay.
You can call me whatever you want, okay?
Yeah,
I couldn't think less of you. We gotta take a break.
No, I gotta tell you one last thing. So you asked, what's the point of voting? Guys, this is super important. You gotta vote in the primaries. And if you vote because by the time you get to the general election, it's AIPAC clown robot #1 versus AIPAC clown robot #2. Go into the primaries, and if anyone takes a dime from AIPAC, vote against them, period. It's blood money for genocide. So politicians are so sick and disgusting in America that they're like, oh, you'd like to murder an entire population and starve them to death. Well, do you have money for me? Oh, you have money. Okay, I will take the money and I will serve Israel. Anyone who takes AIPAC money or Israeli lobby is not serving America. They are clearly serving another country. So if you vote for them, you ought to have your head examined. Anyone who votes for money, votes for someone who takes money from the Israeli lobby is saying we should serve Israel, not America. Period and obvious.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, Hamas has released some hostage videos. Turns out when you starve an entire population of people in Gaza, the hostages also suffer. We've got that and more coming up.
All right, well, Ashura Azumi said the same thing I said at the same time. Soon Israel is going to demand our government starve Americans who criticize Israel.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And then they'll say, oh, we're starving your kids now? It's not just Palestinian kids? And you're complaining? Anti-Semite. You want to feed your own kids? Anti-Semite. Oh, you want to have universal health care? Anti-Semite. You want to have paid family leave like Israel? Anti-Semite. You don't want to give another $300 billion for no goddamn reason to a government, period, let alone a genocidal government? Anti-Semite. Cancel them, fire them. But I don't control anything. Okay, yeah, sure. Guys, it's not about Jews. Tons of Jews are all.
Let's stop with the throat clearing, okay?
I know.
The bad faith attacks, I don't care. At this point, I don't care. They can go ahead and smear us however they want. We know the difference between right and wrong. We're not anti-Semites, okay? You don't have to abide by the demands of a foreign government that's carrying out atrocities as we speak.
Israel's using Jews as human shields. If you criticize me, anti-Semitism against Jews, shut up and stop using our friends and family as human shields, you sick terrorists, okay? Embedded Dude says, each member of Congress is a member of AIPAC on their shoulder with a handful of cash in their left hand and a hammer in their right. Well, look, that's just almost literal. So Tom Massey said, there's an Israeli handler for every member of Congress. There's an Israeli spy, an agent.
Let me read.
That controls almost every member of our Congress. But no one on cable news is allowed to say that AIPAC controls Congress. Bunch of liars.
I'd like to read a short email that was sent to me from a gentleman in Israel. Anna, I love that your hard-earned tax dollars are going to the great IDF to use to get rid of Israel's enemies and to protect the best country, Israel.
That happens 24 hours a day to me, right?
We're just their paychecks.
They're like, oh yeah, you think we're controlling America? Cry harder. Guys, man, be careful what you wish for, okay? Then I'm gonna get hurt trying to defend folks here in America, okay? I'm gonna get hurt either way. You think it's a good idea to rub in the face of American people, we took their money and we use it to slaughter the Arabs and take their land. You think that's a way to prevent anti-Semitism? Oh, Jesus Christ. Unbelievable fools, morons, and deeply, deeply evil. Don't shoot on the goalkeeper says, really starting to hate Israel as a country at this point. I didn't sign up to fund a genocide. Americans aren't obligated to do jack to benefit a foreign country. Here, okay? I mean, how do you not hate Israel at this point? Am I supposed to love Israel? It's like in the middle of the Holocaust, was I supposed to say, no, I love Germany? You'd be like, whoa, why do you love Germany in the middle of a Holocaust? That's weird, right? No, you have to love it. No, I don't, no. It's, I think, super fair to hate a government that's committing a genocide.
Agreed.
Okay, Michael Napin says, don't forget Anna's on Substack too with well-written articles and interviews. I certainly don't forget that. I'm a member of Anna's site.
He is. Cenk is the sweetest. He was like a founding member, like right off the bat. Thank you.
And we'll connect the account so you guys can get all that. Ray of Sunshine says, thoughts after watching Cenk on Jubilee. If you played drinking game every time Cenk said brother, you'd be hammered. Agreed.
Yeah, you said brother and golly gee a lot.
Okay, and number two, when that one guy said we're lucky to have Joe Manchin, I laughed out loud. America laughed with you. Number three, I realize the lack of imagination in a lot of people. I truly think so much is possible, but clearly so many people are settling for barely anything. I hear you. So many comments. We'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys, and also Jeanette Hakavaria, Pifaru, and Kamal El-Watar. They all just joined by hitting the join button below on YouTube and became part of the show. You guys power us. Without you, we go out of business and it's over. We're not a pro-Israeli show, so different economics apply to us, and I'm not kidding. We're gonna show that to you later in the show. If you're a pro-Israel media outlet, you're gonna get a free couple $100 million. It's unbelievable. So the only thing we have is you guys. So thank you for joining, we appreciate it. Anna.
All right, let's get to our next story.
Watching helplessly as my younger brother, Eviatar David, and his fellow hostage, Guy Gilboa Dalal, slip away. They are on the absolute brink of death.
הילד שלי גוסס. ראיתי את זה בעיניים שלי. וגם ראש הממשלה ראה את זה. והוא יודע על מצבו של רום ושל שאר החטופים. ובכל זאת, הוא בוחר שוב ושוב שלא להציל אותו.
You just heard from the family members of two Israeli hostages, one of which had a video released of him by Hamas. Now the two hostages are 24-year-old Eviatar David and 21-year-old Rom Broslavsky. Now they remain in Hamas captivity in the Gaza Strip, and everything that is being implemented against the Palestinian people, they also suffer, including the 3-month humanitarian aid blockade that Israel had implemented, and the Gaza Humanitarian Aid Foundation hubs that have just become kill traps for the Palestinian people. That's obviously making it difficult to get food for everyone in the Gaza Strip, including the hostages. Now Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad released haunting videos of both men, which we're going to show you parts of in a moment, but I just want to warn you all, it's obviously difficult to watch, disturbing to see, and with that in mind, take a look.
קוראים לי רום ברסלבסקי, אני בן 22, בירושלים, ואני אסיר של שרה אל-קודס ג'יהאד אסלאמי. כבר שנתיים נמצא פה בעזה. אני סובל פה סבל שלא נראה טוב, כף רגל, אני לא מצליח. לעמוד ללכת לשירותים, אני לא מצליח. נגמר לי האוכל והשתייה. אם לפני כן כאילו נותנים לי קצת, טיפה, היום כבר אין כלום.
מה שאני עושה עכשיו, אני חופר את הקבר, הקבר שמיועד מבחינתי לי, כי כל יום שעובר הגוף שלי הולך, נחלש, נראה רזה יותר וחלש יותר. מבחינתי זה נראה שאני בדרך למוות שלי.
18 other hostages are believed to still be alive in Gaza. The remains of the hostages who have died are still in Gaza as well. Meanwhile, starvation still plagues Gaza, which I'll give you some details about. Nearly 170 people in Gaza, more than 90 of them children have died from malnutrition since the war began, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry in the enclave. And CNN reported over the weekend that health officials say that 13 people have died from malnutrition in the past 48 hours, including one child. So as you can see from the graph, and we've shared this with you all before, this graph, which was put together by the Wall Street Journal, demonstrates just how much humanitarian aid was cut off from the Gaza Strip as a result of, UNRWA being banned from operating in the Gaza Strip, and the Humanitarian Aid Foundation essentially allegedly replacing operations, but they didn't really replace operations. As you can see, aid deliveries under the uncoordinated system reached their height at 295,120 tons, but then no aid entered Gaza for about 2 months. It was actually closer to 3 months. And when the Gaza Humanitarian Aid Foundation replaced UNRWA, the number of aid deliveries peaked at just 38,252 tons. Cenk.
Okay, so, and you'll hear liars like Benjamin Netanyahu today in a video saying, oh, we overfed them. And I debated one such monster on Piers Morgan recently. The IDF has been too good to the Gazans. And Netanyahu said today, he said, although he at the same time announced that they will be occupying all of Gaza and stealing all of that land, he said, that Palestinians are asking them, can you please save us from Hamas? We would like Israel to take over Gaza and kick us all out. Yeah, they probably said that. If you're a reporter in America, you'll probably report that like a goddamn moron, as if it has 1% chance of being true. Okay, so when I watch the hostage video, of course it's heartbreaking, right? That's a normal human reaction. Then I wonder, okay, strategically, is it right or wrong for Hamas to release that video, okay? Morally, you should never take the hostages first place.
No,
so
Hamas
that's obvious. We don't need to get into that, right? So, okay, they should release the hostages. Yes, and Israel should stop murdering everyone in Gaza. So that's the peace deal. That's the peace deal we want. Hostages return. Israel stops murdering everyone. Okay, but Israel says no. I reserve the right to murder everyone I want, but you got to give the hostages back. Okay, so then as I looked at it, I thought, no, it makes sense that they released it. Okay, because the Israelis, the citizens, they don't really care about the Palestinians. The polling is clear.
Right.
Okay, so they think, oh, now we're starving them to death? No problem. And if you say, are there Israelis that object? Definitely. There's wonderful people inside Israel, Gideon Levy and a million others, okay, who object, right? And a lot of the people that you saw in that protest, right? But the minute you put out Israelis that are suffering, that are starving, they're like, oh, wait. Now the majority of the Israelis, the overwhelming majority of Israeli Jews right now go, oh wait, I didn't know there were humans suffering. I mean, the superior race, the ones that we care about. I mean, all of your children were starving to death. Who cares? You guys are inferior to us. You're our cattle, just to be moved to and fro until we take your land, right? Oh my God, an Israeli is suffering. Oh my God. The Israelis are the greatest human beings ever. All of you are beneath us. But now that I know an Israeli is suffering, now I'm really upset.
One of the things the IDF did, hold on. One of the things the IDF did during this genocide, which I was so disturbed by, and it barely garnered any attention in the media. They dug up individual graves at cemeteries across the Gaza Strip, removed corpses of Palestinian individuals, and then just threw them in mass graves.
The dead.
Desecrating their bodies. It's just,
and not in this war.
No one cared, no one cared, no one cares. The various doctors who have come forward, American doctors who have risked their lives and volunteered their time in the Gaza Strip to provide aid to people.
Best people on earth.
Best people on earth, courageous, real humanitarians. They come back to the United States to testify about all the Palestinian children, toddlers showing up to the hospital rooms with gunshots to their heads and their chests. No one cares in America. I mean, some do, we do. That's why we've stayed on this topic and we won't let it go. It's unconscionable. And so yes, I see the suffering of those Israeli hostages and it absolutely breaks my heart. What I fail to understand though is the lack of humanity, the lack of concern for what's happening to the Palestinian people. Because for me, this isn't about identity, this is about human life.
So what do we do when there's an entire government that's a terrorist government? And they have nukes. A terrorist government has nukes. And they're saying, no, we're gonna kill as many people as we need to in Gaza until they all leave because we're gonna conquer that land. They said it today, they announced it. We're gonna fully occupy Gaza. So then, what are the Israeli expectations in regards to the hostages? They're like, how dare Hamas not feed them? But wait, the Palestinian children are starving to death. Every day, more children starve to death. Okay, nearly 200 have already starved to death. Overall, 90 of them are kids. So the Israeli expectation is you should take food out of your own children's mouths and give it to Israeli soldiers who were captured. Because the Israelis are so much more valuable than your own children. How dare you not realize that? We'll go back to murdering more of you. This is the disgusting, sick, terrorist government we're supposed to fund and bow our heads to. No, thank you. I'm disgusted by every corrupt politician who supports this monstrous government, and that is nearly 100% of American politicians. The last vote was 422 to 6. They own us, and it's so, look, it's a mask off moment.
It is.
And it's not just about Israel. This shows you our politicians are the worst people in the country. They have no morals at all. All they care about, who's my donor? Oil companies, yes, to them, etc. It's a foreign government, no problem. You're in the middle of a genocide, no problem. Thank you, sir. May I please have the check, sir? So those, yeah, you get it.
104 people were slaughtered waiting for humanitarian aid on Sunday alone. 1,300 people were injured. They just fire at, they shoot, they kill desperate people waiting for humanitarian aid. That's what they do. They're literal death traps intentionally placed in active combat zones. And Palestinians risk their lives anyway because without that bag of flour, they know their kids are gonna die.
Israel's government is definitely worse than Hamas. Let's just be clear about that. They have killed 50 times the number of civilians. If you say those civilians don't count or that you don't care, then you're a terrorist sympathizer. You say, my people are important, they're the Ubermensch. Your people should be slaughtered. And if my government is doing 50 times the terrorism of Hamas, that's a good thing. Okay, well then you're a terrorist sympathizer of a deeply terrorist government that has killed so many more civilians than Hamas, Hezbollah, and almost all the terrorists in the world combined. Israel is a monstrous terrorist government with so much weapons and power and the entire American government behind it. It is a rogue nation that is a danger to all of us. So this is somehow protecting Israel? Monsters and fools.
All right, we gotta take a break. When we come back for the second hour, we'll talk a little bit about fun little field trip that House Speaker Mike Johnson went on recently. And then we'll get into Trump getting roasted by Charlemagne, not really liking it, not enjoying it. We'll tell you what the tiff is all about when we come back.
They failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was mad.
Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this?
The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power.
We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world.
We're celebrating our 1 billionth view.
Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
If Phil and host beat CNN and headline news combined, at some point they want to give me a show.
Every single year that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, you won't believe the meeting that I just had.
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
And they want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media.
The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, JR, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. Look at that, dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. You know, say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Also, Sadun Özer, and Tim Powell. Thank you both for giving 5 Young Turks memberships on YouTube. You guys are amazing. We appreciate you. We love this community. You guys actually care. You care about honest news reporting, and you care about humanity no matter where it is in the world.
Not as much as you care about that accurate Turkish pronunciation of that person's name.
I hope I did it right. I know Özer is right. I'm not sure about Sadun. Could be Sadun. Anyway, thanks, brother.
All right. I think this will be our last Israel-related story, but we couldn't resist this one.
Mike Johnson, the 56th Speaker of the House of Representatives in America. We're here with a delegation of members of the House. We're so grateful to be in Israel, particularly on this day, and we're so moved by the hospitality of the people and the great love of Israel. Our prayer is that America will always stand with Israel, and that we will we pray for the preservation and the peace of Jerusalem. That's what Scripture tells us to do. It's a matter of faith for us and a commitment that we have. God bless you.
It would be nice if congressional leadership were more concerned about the American people as opposed to a foreign government, but that's clearly not the case, because as you see in that video that was just posted by the US-Israel Education Association, more on them later, House Speaker Mike Johnson is currently making history in Israel as the highest-ranking US official to visit illegal Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Why not? Yeah. Slap on your approval to the theft of people's homes, the theft of people's lands, literal terrorism being carried out by those Israeli settlers. That's what our government currently represents, unfortunately. Not the best interest of the American people, but the best interest of a terrorist regime in the country of Israel.
Yeah, so you're gonna be shocked to find out who Mike Johnson's #1 donor is. Does anyone not know? You all know the answer, right? AIPAC, the Israeli lobby. So he goes over there to grovel to them and goes, "Oh, I swear to God, I'm going to represent you guys and not America." That's our poll in the live chat. Watch the show live at 6 o'clock Eastern every day. Is Mike Johnson America first or Israel first? I mean, is anybody really going to say America first? Maybe 8%. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, but so he goes to grovel there, and he goes, "Oh, you have illegal settlements, and you plan to take over the West Bank, and you're murdering the people in Gaza and moving them to what a former Israeli prime minister has called a concentration camp in the south, and you're planning to drive them all out and steal that land, and you want me to basically rob American taxpayers of their hard-earned dollars and give it to you because you're bribing me legally in America? Well, of course, I'll be your Huckleberry." So he goes over there. Look, you go to foreign countries and you pray there or you do whatever visits, no problem. In the middle of a genocide, where you go to their illegal settlements, where the whole point of the settlement is to steal land, I love that, 96 to 4%. Of course, he's Israel first and not America first, right? And then you go all these things, and then as you're groveling there in what looks like a hostage video, "I am here in Israel, is the checks cleared? And we should give all of our money to Israel. They haven't killed enough Palestinians, done self-defense." It's sickening, it's gross. By the way, in this story, there's actually good news. There's a fight back. Is that going to materialize anything? We'll see, but it's actually in Congress, which is shocking.
Okay, then it's not going to materialize into anything. All right, so Mark Zell, who Axios describes as an American Israeli Republican activist, was present for a speech that Johnson gave in the West Bank. So here's what he wrote. Speaker Johnson says that the mountains of Judea and Samaria are the rightful property of the Jewish people.
Unbelievable.
He criticizes those erstwhile allies of Israel who are calling to recognize a Palestinian state. He closes with a statement that as the US begins to celebrate its 250th anniversary, the US should use the occasion to remind the American people of its mythological Judeo-Christian foundations that were formed here in the land of Israel. So I say mythological because it's complete and utter BS. We as Americans should look out for our fellow Americans. Our government should serve the American people, okay? Whether they're Jewish Americans, Christian Americans, atheist Americans, I don't care. Americans should be served by our public servants. The very people who signed up to be public servants to represent the people of this country. But Mark Zell, really caught up with his concerns about a foreign country here. Now, one of Johnson's companions on this trip is Republican Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. She's the head of a caucus that was formed earlier this year called Friends of Judea and Samaria.
Unbelievable.
Which supports the annexation, the illegal annexation, meaning the land theft of the West Bank by the Israelis, okay?
Sick.
So this caucus is pretty shadowy. It does not have like an official website. We don't know all the members of Congress who are part of this. But Taylor Ellis, our producer, did some digging to find some names, and he did manage to find at least a few members of Congress who have joined this caucus. That includes Representative Andy Harris, a Republican from Maryland, Representative Nick LaLota from New York.
They're all from Israel. You don't have to say where they're from.
I mean, pretty much.
They all work for Israel.
They're all Republicans, at least the names that we were able to find. And you're right. I mean, does it really matter what their states are if they're far more concerned with looking out for a foreign country over their own constituents?
But you should know their names. So in case you're listening to the audio version, Mary Miller, Barry Moore, Andy Ogles, Randy Weber, all traitors. So let me explain. And by the way, I don't mean anything physical. I'm just telling you, rhetorically, politically, obviously they're traitors. So, and obviously they're in favor of genocide. So Judea and Samaria is the way that people in favor of greater Israel refer to the West Bank and Gaza Strip. And what the people who believe in Judea and Samaria believe that God promised Israel that land. So it's their job to kill as many Palestinians as possible until they drive all the Palestinians out. That is the definition of genocide and ethnic cleansing, and to take that land, and that's the definition of theft. So it's amazing. American congresspeople have signed on to a genocidal caucus, and they're just saying it. And now Mike Johnson is saying it. Yeah, I'm going to Judea and Samaria, so we're going to steal that for Israel, and we're going to murder as many Palestinians as we need to, and we're going to move them all out, and we're going to take that. That's what Judea and Samaria is. So again, every lying journalist in this country that doesn't talk about Israel's intention to form a greater Israel, which they have been very clear about, and today they said yes, we're going to take all of Gaza. So that's it. Their intention is genocidal. Their intention is to set up greater Israel, which involves taking the West Bank and Gaza Strip from the Palestinians. So these guys have signed up for genocide, and they're just telling you. They're saying, yes, we're going to use your money, by the way, not Israel's money. We're going to use your money to murder these people and take their land. I mean, sick doesn't begin to describe it. And Mike Johnson said in that statement, apparently according to Mark Zell, and this is not surprising, he said, no, he doesn't believe the Palestinians should ever have a state. So this is from the same liars who say the real problem is the Palestinians say Israel shouldn't exist. Do they have any power to effectuate that? No, of course not. Israel's the safest country in the world. They have Iron Dome, nuclear weapons, etc. But we're supposed to worry about a hypothetical threat to Israel's existence? That's mental. But they say at the same exact time, Palestine shouldn't exist.
Kind of makes you wonder whether the real obstacle to a two-state solution was actually Israel.
Of course! If you don't realize that the obstacle is not the Palestinians who've been slaughtered and humiliated for the last 58 years, and it's the slaughterers, Israel, who has constantly stolen their land, that is a problem for peace and the two-state solution. Well, in the past, I would have forgiven you, I get it. A lot of people weren't knee deep in this, etc. But now they've declared it, it's obvious, and we all have seen it with our own eyes. Israel is definitely the country that does not want peace. They want land. And Mike Johnson and this genocidal caucus is admitting it.
The final thing I want to just briefly discuss here is I grew up in the Christian church, okay? Now I moved away from organized religion later in life, but from, as young as I can remember, maybe 4 or 5 years old to the age of 19, every Sunday would go to Sunday school, would go to church. I don't recall any situation in which it made sense for the males in my church to put a yarmulke on and, like put on Jewish garb and then engage in prayer with said garb on. But for whatever reason, we do have a ton of so-called Christian lawmakers in this country who like to go to Israel, put the yarmulke on, and I don't really understand it. Maybe someone can explain it to me.
No, they say that it's a sign of respect.
Is it really? Why? You're going to debase your own religious beliefs by putting religious garb of a different religion on? I don't understand.
Okay, but if that was true, Muslims, religious Muslims sometimes wear a skull cap, which is very similar to a yarmulke. How come I'm never seeing a single Christian politician in a Muslim skull cap? Well, I thought it was just a sign of respect of other religions. And by the way, there's as many Muslims in America as there are Jews, so. Oh no, but everybody has to put on the yarmulke. Again, if it was universal, no problem. Imagine if the Turks said, in order to be a real American, you have to come to some wall in Turkey and you have to put on a fez and look like a clown and dance for us.
Let's take it easy on the fez.
No, the fez does make you look clownish, right? So anyways, okay, now the good guys. This is an rebellion within Congress, and of course it has immediately been met with wrath, Israeli wrath, okay? Ro Khanna has started it, God bless his heart. That brother's got some courage. So he is circulating a letter to give to Trump to recognize Palestine as a state. Now that's the bare minimum, that's for all decent human beings, that's you think like, of course, where's the question, right? When we all believe in a two-state solution, nobody wants Israel to be wiped out, but we also think that Palestinians are human beings and also deserve a state, of course, right? No, it was considered an enormous gamble. And of course, followed by smears of Ro Khanna, he's an anti-Semite, I can't believe he's defying Israel, blah, blah, blah. Then Greg Casar, the head of the Progressive Caucus, joins. Now we're having a conversation. Then Lord Doggett, Veronica Escobar, Maxwell Frost, Al Green, Jared Huffman, Mark Pocan, Bonnie Watson Coleman. So that original letter gets leaked, and the leak is hilarious because they're like, these people want to treat Palestinians as humans, attack! And so, watch, by the way, now the media will start to attack these people. Because if you're a decent human being and you believe in the sanctity of life and humanity and decency and you have morals, American media will try to rip you apart. Then Andre Carson, Jim McGovern, Shelly Pingree and Nydia Velasquez have also joined. I assume others will join as well. But I love this movement, and because what it clarifies is, okay, here are the people who are not saying anything against Israel. They're just saying the Palestinians should also be recognized. And this is a diplomatic route. You can't ask for anything better than a diplomatic route, right? So note all of the other congressmen who say no. Israel should be allowed to exist. They should be perfectly defended. They should be allowed to commit a genocide with your money. But the Palestinians shouldn't even be able to exist. And tell me that AIPAC doesn't run Congress. Come on.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, let's switch gears entirely, talk about some other stories, including some Republican congresswomen feeling disenfranchised in their own party. They're making a break for it. What is that likely gonna lead to? That and more coming up, don't miss it.
All right, back on TYT. Real quick on TYT.com. Newfie Dragon says, F you, Mike Johnson. Don't use Mike God's name. Boomer Dragon Cat said, if Mike Johnson was truly Christian, he wouldn't be able to live with himself. Yeah, none of these evangelical Christians who are like, we support the murder of the Palestinians and the theft of their land. By the way, including Bethlehem and Nazareth. They're not real Christians at all. They're scumbags who represent a foreign government for money, prostitutes, all of them. And again, I shouldn't say that because poor Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. She's 1 billion times better than these fake Christians. Itchy Brother Dragon says, the Jubilee on Twitch says, the Jubilee was fabulous, great job, Cenk. Think you made some real headway, do more of these, please. Thank you, brother. Bizarre the Gamer, thank you for resubscribing, appreciate it. Donovan 8X on YouTube member section says, Cenk absolutely killed it at Jubilee. Definitely changed some people's minds. I hope so, we're gonna talk about that soon. Enter Tamid wrote in that thumbnail, Cenk, we need more Joe Manchins. Are you insane? That was from the Jubilee. Christina Elisa Brown, Anna, I was like watching her take it and I thought, oh, they like having Anna on. But then I realized, oh, that's Anna's show. She's on fire. She is indeed. Jonathan Boris-Johnny makes a good point. All I know is the crypto community went from yesterday saying it was the end of the world to today everybody yelling, something happened last night, buy, buy, buy. So I don't know what that's about, brother, but you're absolutely right to point it out. There's so many scams going on.
Yep.
We're getting robbed in every direction. It's a free for all. He wrote in later as well, I'll get to that in a minute. He said, I like how TYT knows about economics too. I follow closely, obviously, and TYT is on point. Great story. Thank you so much. Neville Luna says, Cenk did a great job without either pandering or bullying. He struck the right balance. That's for on Jubilee. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. You guys are wonderful. Yeah. The folks who stayed here and didn't listen to the liars, I love you. Who was right and who was wrong? T says, the rage I feel for Palestine, the rage I feel for us is that the government refuses to listen because they are taking money from AIPAC. The government doesn't represent us, they represent donors. Well, T, there's no way to argue that unless you're an idiot mainstream media reporter who's like, donors, what's donors? Our politicians are having debates. Okay, Darth Dunedin says, I can't stand our government. They don't care about people at all. Cenk, thanks for going on Jubilee. You did great. More people need to hear you. By the way, you watch that. You can watch any day, any minute of the Young Turks. Remember what the liars told you? The liars told you that we were pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, and we turned right wing. What happened now? What happened now? No, truth not needed at all, at all. And you still, if anybody's still listening to those liars, Jesus Christ, that's pathetic. Nick Mon 55. Zionism plus US complicity in genocide is the leading cause of anti-Semitism.
Yes.
It's so unfortunate for the anti-Zionist Jews worldwide, leading the charge in activism in support of a free Palestine. Shame. Yes, absolutely. Wonderful Jewish Americans leading the peace movement throughout here, right? And a huge part of the peace movement. And they're getting smeared along with everybody else because the freaking monsters in the Israeli government. Right, so thank you for pointing that out. All right, and The Breaker Wall says in the first quarter of 2024, Biden was president and BLS job report was adjusted minus 124,000 by BLS Commissioner Erica McAntifer. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Dawn Whitehead, thank you for gifting a membership on YouTube. You're amazing. I just got to read this one comment. Actually, shoot. Okay, sorry, I lost it. I'll give it to you guys in the next break. Anna.
All right, let's get to our next story.
Hello, Miriam. Where's my money? You know, Bari Weiss, whose company is, sold now, is going to sell to CBS for $3 trillion or something. Larry Ellison Sons buying the Free Press. You know, the very important Free Press blog. You know, the one that gets like 7,500 views on YouTube? That powerhouse conglomerate media company is worth $250 million. They don't like me anymore, which is fine because, again, you're on the team or you're not on the team. You criticize one thing, I mean, you're off the team.
Well, comedian Tim Dillon went scorched earth on Bari Weiss and the possibility that CBS might buy her glorified blog, as he puts it, for $250 million. A story that we covered on this show last week on Wednesday. Now here's more of what Dillon had to say.
That was the time that the Free Press was a revolutionary concept. When like there'd be a burrito truck in Portland where some white bitch was making a taco and there was an article about how it was cultural appropriation or, how it was like, a mansplaining to tell a woman or whatever. That was when the Free Press got big. It was when it was just like this era in our country where we were the most ridiculous, like what a pumpkin say about the history of slavery, like all of those ridiculous art. The Free Press came in to counter that narrative. And again, it's no shade to Bari, $250 million. Is it worth that? I mean, it's a blog. I mean, it's a full blog. It's a blog. I mean, and it's a small YouTube channel. Whatever, I mean, God bless. But apparently the brand equity, and by brand equity means I'm willing to argue for shooting Palestinian toddlers in the face. That's the brand equity of 250 sticks.
Man, I stan Dillon so much for his commentary about what's happening in Gaza and for being willing to call out the Free Press for not really being all about the Free Press when it comes to reporting on the reality of Israel and Palestine. Now, before we get to some more details about this, I think, impending deal between the Free Press and CBS, I do want to just give you a little more from Dillon in regard to his mocking of how the Free Press covers the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Take a look.
Give me 400 sticks. Ready? Here I go. The thing about the war and the thing that people are struggling to understand about Hamas, terrorists, Hamas, terrorists, Hamas is terrorism. Hamas, New York City, blow up Trade Center, World Trade Center, flesh face, blood face, child death, your child, killing, suburbs, killing, death, killing, terrorism, death. Terrorism, Iran, death, terrorism, your children, family, terrorism, theme parks, boom, boom, bridge, bad. And what we have to do is shoot toddler in his face. Thank you, 303. Thank you very much, that was very good. And 300 million for you. Anything else you'd like? That's good, thank you so much. Those are the arguments they make at the Free Press. They don't even pretend, by the way. And God bless them, but they don't even pretend like there is no intellectual heft to any of the arguments. They're like, if Iran's not bombed, they're gonna rape your mother.
Now, you might think, oh, well, why would CBS want to buy a media entity that's so biased in one direction, especially when it comes to an ongoing genocide? No, they're not looking to buy the Free Press despite that biased coverage of Gaza. Apparently, they like that biased coverage of Gaza. According to the Financial Times, people familiar with the relationship said that Weiss's strong pro-Israel stance is one of the factors that is said to have appealed to Ellison. Okay, so that's the incoming CBS CEO, David Ellison.
Okay, guys, I'm in the digital media business, so I know what things are worth and not worth, okay? $250 million for that. Okay, I'm thrilled with that. That means that Young Turks is worth around $1 billion.
Well, we're critical of Israel, so maybe not.
Are we gonna get $1 billion? Is that what happened? No. Oh, I see, that's only for, those metrics only apply for pro-Israel blogs.
100%, yeah.
Come on, guys. And look, they have 155,000 paying subscribers on Substack. That's amazing. That's a great number, right? But I know the revenue associated with that. It doesn't get you anywhere near a $250 billion valuation. And they have almost no video. They have nothing anywhere else, right? To Tim Dillon's point, like the only thing they have is Substack. Everything else is abject failure. But that's worth $250 million. Isn't that amazing that pro-Israel gets some sort of incredible multiplier? And if you're fair and honest about Israel, that gets you, what, does that subtract money from you?
It could literally destroy your career, as many critics of Israel have learned working in the media.
And hey, listen, okay, I gotta say it, I'm sorry. Like, first of all, if you really think that they're worth that based on the actual numbers, call me, because have I got a deal for you, okay? But if you know that you're just giving them money to be pro-Israel, I got bad news for you. Bari Weiss would have been pro-Israel either way. You're paying for nothing, okay?
But also, like,
you gotta pay Bari Weiss to be pro-Israel? I mean, come on, that's not that bright, let's be honest.
Like, is there an issue here with like the absence of pro-Israel media in America?
Oh yeah. I mean, finally someone who could stand up for Israel in American media. Must be a first. Yeah. That's what you gotta finance? What do you, look at mainstream media. You think Israel doesn't have a voice in America? But they probably do. They're so maniacal that they're like, no. I heard one or two people criticizing Israel online. Oh, I know what we'll do. We'll counter by getting this huge blog that's pro-Israel. And then we'll counter them. Okay, good luck. Good luck, see how that turns out.
So according to the New York Post, Bari Weiss, who of course launched the Free Press, and who quit the New York Times opinion page over its woke policies and launched the outlet in 2022, had reportedly met with Skydance Media CEO David Ellison at the high-powered Allen & Co. summer camp for billionaires in Sun Valley, Idaho back in July.
It must be fun.
Yeah, so I'm sure.
Not a lot of anti-Israel people invited to that though. Forget anti-Israel, nobody's anti-Israel. Like,
no,
hey,
I'm anti-Israel.
Okay, well that's
100% anti-Israel at this point. They're committing genocide. I hate the fact that we fund them. I don't see them as an ally.
Right.
Continue.
Current Israeli government. Okay, but like just anti-genocide. I don't know if you can get invited to the fancy places. You're anti-genocide, right? Oh, you're pro-Israel. Come on in, everybody. Oh, but don't say anything. No, that's discriminatory. Look, guys, I think it's pretty well known at this point that I'll go and talk to people and work with people, etc., as long as we're having a fair conversation, right? So, like, do I hate Bari Weiss? Not at all. Okay. So I did a debate with Ann Coulter on immigration, and Bari Weiss's Free Press put that together. So what? Okay. And I took a picture with everybody afterwards, and they're like, "Oh, you took a picture." Ann Coulter thinks her favorite book is Camp of the Saints, where the hero murders all the immigrants like me, right? Yeah, and I took a picture with her. Why? Because we were debating her, right? So my point is, this isn't personal. Like, okay, so Bari Weiss loves Israel and thinks that genocide's no big deal as long as it happens to Palestinians. I think that's a despicable point of view, but unfortunately, tons of people in this country have that point of view. I'm not interested in canceling all of them. They could have that point of view, okay? And apparently they can get paid $250 million for it. But I could also have my point of view, which they say no, which is hilarious, right? Miss Cancel Culture, Bari Weiss, says, but if you criticize Israel, anti-Semite, cancel him, fire him, cancel him. You know, Bari Weiss was the person who started organizing to get professors fired on college campus if they actually reported the reality, the actual history of what happened in Israel. No, you have to say that the Palestinians went out for a picnic and decided not to come back. No, we didn't kill them and drag them through the streets so that everybody could see them. No, Israel, you have to Israeli propaganda. Okay, you're allowed to have that opinion in America, and I'll even debate you, etc. And I got no problems. But don't tell me you're gonna cancel me. Don't tell me that I'm not allowed to say things against Israel. We're all gonna say it. We don't care if we get paid or don't get paid. We don't care if you're gonna make 10,000 times more money because you're pro-Israel. We don't care. We're gonna say it and say it and say it because there were decent, moral people who care about all human beings and not just the beloved Israelis.
If speaking the truth about what's happening in Gaza ensures that at some point my career will be destroyed and I'm gonna have to scrub toilets for a living, I will happily get on my hands and knees and scrub toilets for a living.
Yeah.
You're not gonna silence me.
Yeah, our conscience does not have a price. Our morality does not have a price. And in the middle of the Holocaust, if pro-German blogs were getting more money, I would hope that people would not have gone, well, okay, then I'm pro-Germany. Okay, as long as I'm gonna get paid more. Okay, are you offended at the analogy? Did you just want to do a clean genocide and not have anybody complain about it? Because when the Germans starved the Jews, that was horrific. And I hope to God everybody agrees with that, right? But when Israel starves the Palestinians, they're subhuman, it's okay. We're the Ubermensch, right, Barry? You're the Ubermensch, so you could do whatever you want to the Palestinians. You're above us all, right? And it turns out you are. So you're gonna get paid to be pro-genocide. Enjoy the money, enjoy the blood money.
No, I dislike Barry Weiss. All right, let's move on to our next story.
Today is a celebration. The American spirit is alive and well. And we have once again nominated for president the founding father of the America First movement, Donald John Trump. But an American government that serves the interests not of the wealthy, the globalist, or the powerful few, but of all hardworking Americans is within our grasp.
Well, the Republican Party's luster seems to be wearing off for Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's now questioning whether she even belongs in the GOP. Over the weekend, she had an interview with the Daily Mail about a possible break with the Republican Party due to their betrayal of the MAGA base. But interestingly enough, she excludes Donald Trump from this argument and conversation. And I think she's making a mistake with that, and I'll explain why. First, here are a few quotes that she gave the Daily Mail. Quote, I don't know if the Republican Party is leaving me or if I'm kind of not relating to the Republican Party as much anymore. I don't know which one it is. I think the Republican Party has turned its back on America First and the workers and just regular Americans. Well, Congresswoman Greene, I don't know if she'll ever see this, but Republican members of Congress never believed in America First. In fact, I know for a fact that most Republican lawmakers loathe Donald Trump and felt pressure by the MAGA base to pretend like they believed in America First. But I think the real problem here is that based on Trump's own actions, it doesn't appear that he himself is America First. Yet she says that she still doesn't have any kind of problem with Trump specifically, and that her fidelity with the president is still strong. Well, the FEMA just today, Donald Trump's FEMA, just put out a notice saying any state or municipality that criticizes Israel, engages in the boycott, divest movement as a result of their genocide against the Palestinian people will be deprived of FEMA funds if a tragedy or natural disaster occurs.
Yeah, so no, I think it's a positive step forward. Now I get that people have to take a number of steps to get there. So the fact that she's saying there's something wrong with the Republican Party, I think is actually really important. I think it's a little bit of a seminal moment. And so if you say, well, I mean, it's just Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, but the base turns first, and the people who are closest to the base turn first, right? And if you don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the closest to the MAGA base, you just don't know American politics, right? And so, and what she's saying in essence is actually similar to what I'm saying, but from the left, right? I say from the left, she says it from the right. In fact, I did a whole Jubilee about it just now. I took on 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans. Why? Because the politicians themselves do not represent the voters. So in her case, what she's saying is, look, MAGA wants what? X, Y, and Z, right? And she's a hypocrite on some of this stuff too. Like MAGA wanted to reduce the deficit. They just added $4 trillion to the debt. So that doesn't make any sense. MAGA didn't want war, and then Trump bombed Israel. Now she was opposed to that. Okay, MAGA didn't want more money going to Israel in foreign aid. They're spending more money to Israel for, and then it goes list Epstein files and on and on and on and on, right? Andrew Schultz saying something similar. Now he's not MAGA, but he did vote for Trump. He's a lifelong Democrat, but he's like, Jesus Christ, he isn't doing a single thing. But it's not just Trump, it's not just Mike Johnson, it's the entire party itself. And remember, I also think that it's the Democratic Party that are playing good cop, bad cop on us. So whenever the Democrats are in charge, they don't do anything they say. Republicans, same thing, right? So the fact that US congressmen are beginning to realize their own party is the problem is a really good moment in American politics. Like Mike Johnson is never ever going to give you what you want, even if you're hardcore MAGA.
So, she's taken issue with some of the foreign policy that Republican lawmakers have supported. So I actually want to go to a video featuring her in the last few weeks, basically criticizing the party and condemning the US military's involvement in Iran.
Now, I'm not making apologies for Iran. I have no investment in the terrorist regime of Iran. But the reality is no American slept better after America bombed Iran, because all of a sudden we now have threats on our homeland. We now have warnings from our State Department for Americans overseas. MAGA is not for foreign wars. Yep. We are not for regime change, and we are for America first. 6 months in, Steve, and here we are, turning back on the campaign promises, and we bombed Iran on behalf of Israel. Yes, it was on behalf of Israel. We're entering a nuclear war, the World War III, because the entire world is going to erupt. And you want to know the people that are cheering it on right now? Their tune is going to drastically change the minute we start seeing flag-draped coffins on the nightly news, on Fox News that brainwashes all the baby boomers, and on CNN that brainwashes all the Democrat baby boomers.
What is happening right now? That was amazing. That was amazing. Thank you for saying that, because it's absolutely true. She also has said in the interview with the Daily Mail, quote, like, what happened to all these issues, meaning America First issues? You know that I don't know what the hell happened with the Republican Party. I really don't. But I'll tell you one thing. The course that it's on, I don't want to have anything to do with it, and I just don't care anymore. And so some of the priorities included a stop to funding foreign wars and foreign aid, continuing to use Doge to shave down government expenditures and waste. So clearly we still have some pretty significant disagreements with her. But the point of this whole story is she wants to focus on America. And she's looking at the whole of the Republican Party and she's like, oh my God, they don't really seem to care about America at all, and have completely abandoned the very policies they pretended to care about leading up to the election.
I was led to believe that no one in MAGA would revolt. Okay, so let's talk about the oil subsidies, because she mentioned Doge, right? So there's parts, sometimes people say, Cenk, why are you against Doge? Don't you want to cut waste, fraud, and abuse? Of course I do. But did Doge actually cut waste, fraud, and abuse? Did it miss some things? So the oil companies were being getting $35 billion a year, 10 times what Israel gets. Every year, subsidies are tax dollars to them, richest people in the world, richest companies in the world. And now Trump added $18 billion more in subsidies. Why don't we get the 53 billion back? Nope. It's corruption, period. Excuse me. Take it away.
No, I mean, it's totally true. Everything that was focused on in regard to cuts were essentially cuts to public services that benefit ordinary Americans. I mean, trying to gut the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, shutting down Social Security field offices. You look at Congress, you get these massive tax cuts that do disproportionately benefit the most affluent, the richest people in the country. Yes, Some Americans, working class Americans got some tax breaks as well. I don't want to minimize that, but why did the rich have to get additional tax breaks? That makes no sense. And at the same time, you see $1.1 trillion cut for Medicaid. Lots of concern that hospitals in rural parts of the country will shutter as a result of those cuts. I mean, it's a complete and utter disaster. And in the meantime, we keep shelling out tens of billions of dollars to Israel to carry out atrocities in the Gaza Strip and steal more land on behalf of their Greater Israel project. So look, I will take it. I will take any member of Congress who has even a modicum of clarity on what's actually happening and where the priorities are for our lawmakers. The priorities are not the American people. The priorities are not about doing what's necessary to improve conditions in this country or to lower the deficit or deal with our $37 trillion in debt. Their priorities are themselves, their political careers, and I would venture to say for some powerful people in our government, avoiding the release of any type of blackmail that a foreign government might have on them, especially as it pertains to pedophilia. Cenk.
Yeah, so if you say, yeah, but see, the Democrats are way better. Wait, are they? Okay, so in a sense they are, because if you're Republicans, sorry guys, but you just gave the oil companies another $18 billion. Why? Why did you take it from us and from you and give it to super profitable companies? It makes no sense. Oh, right, they gave $450 million in just the last election cycle to Republicans and Democrats, right? But now if you're a Democrat, wait, they've been getting $35 billion a year throughout all of this. So why didn't the Democrats take out their subsidies? Right, they didn't even talk about their subsidies. Isn't that weird? Guys, it's so obvious what's happening. We've been saying it on this show for, well, let's see, I started Wolfpack in 2011, so 14 years straight at a bare minimum, okay? It's the money, Lebowski, okay? So almost all of our politicians are bought. They're corrupt. They're the very worst people in the country. They're the ones who say, I will rob the American people on behalf of my donors. So Marjorie Taylor Greene just found that out about her own party, which you could say, hey, welcome to the party. We've been here a while. On the other hand, you could say, hey, you know what? That's a US congressperson that came to the right conclusion. Great, yes. Yeah. And by the way, many on the Democratic side, Ro Khanna, AOC, et cetera, don't take corporate PAC money. And they realize that that's what's corrupting, right? But there's only a handful of people in Congress who are honest and actually try to represent you. Everyone else is a crook, a professional, robber. And they just happen to go into Congress to rob you on behalf of their donors. That's what's happening. And if you're a Democrat or Republican, wake up, wake up. You have to get money out. Last thing is, how do you get money out? Fightcorruption.us. Go join fightcorruption.us. Otherwise, they're gonna win from here to eternity.
All right, Trump gets roasted when we come back.
All right, so you got a message for John Idarola?
Tell him to be nice to me.
Okay, that's a tough ask. Let's go to Super Chat. John Diamond wrote in, Dear TYT, first time I've caught you live for months. God bless all of you. Shout out to Anna for rocking it on her take and talking to the other side, which is amazing to see. Full love, guys. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. History Speaks wrote in a couple times. In Iraq, the year the US invaded, life expectancy went down 1 year. In Afghanistan, it rose 1 year in the invasion year. In Gaza, it dropped 35 years the first year of the war, per a Lancet study by Professor Michael Guyot of Penn and others. 35 years. It proportionally, if someone had killed the same number of people, percentage of our population in America as Israel has done to Gaza, there'd be 9 million dead Americans, crossing over from genocide to Holocaust, right? So, but Israel's the most moral army, say the pigs on cable news, okay? History Speaks says Mike Johnson's foreign policy priorities: first, fighting Muslim extremists who are so backwards they think crazy religious doctrines should inform geopolitics. 2, supporting greater Israel so Jesus comes and fights and beats Beelzebub and ends the world. You see what he did there? The sarcasm. Oh, the Muslims, I can't believe they believe this backwards religious ideology. Oh no, but we love this backwards religious ideology and we should murder everyone based on it. Okay, yeah. It's a great way of pointing out what a ridiculous hypocrite and fool Mike Johnson is, but he doesn't really care. He's corrupt, he wants the money. Like Congress people should hang sign around their necks saying, we'll murder people for money. CDN Norse Dog Dad says on Saturday starting at 8 a.m. in Park, they read names of people killed in Palestine. Readers were limited to 15 minutes, as that was all they could do before breaking down and crying for the loss.
Okay, can I just say, the Washington Post has put out details of some of the Palestinian children who have been killed in Gaza, how they were killed, who they were, how old they were, their photos. I saw this on Instagram. I got through maybe 3 slides. I couldn't take it. Like, it's just the way these kids have been dehumanized, the way that this country, our government, shows how little they care, how much they've been, anyway.
For 90% of this genocide, all I heard in media was poor Israel. Are you kidding me, man?
Do you condemn Hamas?
Yeah, you condemn Hamas. I condemn Israel. I condemn Israel. I condemn Hamas. Then I condemn Israel 50 times more for the number of civilians they've murdered.
My favorite retort from Israel defenders is when they ask me, do you ever talk about October 7th? I'm talking about what's happening right now. We talked about October 7th after October 7th happened. It's now been almost 2 years, and the endless slaughter campaign by the Israelis isn't slowing down at all. So what do you want me to do? Go back and talk about what happened 2 years ago, or talk about what Israel is doing right now?
They're genocide lovers, so that shows you their depravity. So just stop. We should stop talking to them. Anyway, Rodas Volante, thank you for the contribution on Super Chat. Gary Hawker, I'm not an anti-Semite, but it is a large struggle now to remain so. I wish I could donate more than I have. How is this going to help Israel? How is it going to make it a safe haven for Jews when you're driving the whole world to hate you by murdering kids in front of us? All right, so you got a message for John Iderol?
Tell him to be nice to me.
Back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you, news.
All right, let's get to our next story.
When you ask me, what do I think President Trump has done over the last 6 months? I don't want to say that I think he did a terrible job, but if he's doing a terrible job, I got to call it like it is. And if it was a Democrat,
I will respectfully disagree with you on that.
I understand
but that's
you would.
okay. You can have your viewpoint.
Over the weekend, Charlamagne slammed President Donald Trump on a show hosted by Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump. And as you can imagine, the president was not too happy with the commentary provided by Charlamagne. So we'll get to Trump's response and his bit of a meltdown in a bit. But first, let's give you more of what Charlamagne had to say. He hit Trump pretty hard on not delivering for the working class, especially when it came to his budget bill.
Least of us are still being impacted the worst. Like when you look at something like, the big beautiful bill, that's something that, I'm gonna benefit from because of the tax bracket that I'm in, but there's gonna be so many people that's hurt by that bill. And anything that, takes away Medicaid from people and is gonna put people in a worse financial situation than, they were previously in, I'm not for. And he ran on that. Like he ran on, the economy. He ran on saying that, grocery prices were gonna be down and,
That has happened.
No.
Inflation is trending down. And by the way, Medicaid, we want to make sure that people who are not actual recipients or shouldn't be getting Medicaid are off of Medicaid so it can actually benefit more people.
That's like one of the dumbest arguments, and I have to keep talking about that or responding to that stupid argument on Her Take all the time. Okay, how did Congress reach the number of cutting $1.1 trillion from Medicaid? Where's the evidence that there's $1.1 trillion in Medicaid fraud to justify a cut that deep to a program that rural hospitals across the country rely on, that the poorest Americans rely on for healthcare, including, by the way, mostly children who are born into poor families. But anyway, it's okay. Everyone who needs government assistance is committing fraud, and the welfare whores in Israel absolutely need the tens of billions of dollars we shell out to them for their genocide. Go ahead, Cenk.
Yeah, welfare only for Israel, but not for Americans. Okay, so we're asking in our poll on the live chat, do you think it was a good idea for Charlamagne to go on Lara Trump's show? I mean, that's a Trump family member, yes or no? Shows live at 6 o'clock Eastern every day. Oh, look at that, 86% saying yes. And guess what happened when he went on her show? He got all the way under Donald Trump's skin. And so we're gonna get into that in a second, okay?
Yeah.
But just so you know, the bottom 30% have to pay more now. They lost money in that budget bill, the bottom 30%. And that money was given almost exclusively to the top 1%. People making above $500,000 got a $1.1 trillion tax cut, and that was paid for by taking away insurance from 12 million Americans. Our system and our government is sick. It's diseased. Yes.
Now, I want to skip ahead to video 4 here, because Charlamagne also talked about what he predicts will happen to the Republican Party in the future. Let's take a quick look at that.
I think there's a political coup going on right now in the Republican Party that people aren't paying attention to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think that this Epstein thing is going to be a way for traditional conservatives to take their party back. I really do. I think that they know this is the issue that has gotten the base riled up. The MAGA base isn't letting this issue go, and for the first time, they know they can, probably take their party back and not piss off the MAGA base. I think they're going to do that.
All right. So look, I don't think that there's a coup that's being carried out by traditional conservative Republicans. The neocons. They've always been there. They never lost power, and the America First agenda was just a facade. It was a complete and utter facade. Donald Trump is carrying out neoconservative policy as we speak. So there was never a coup. It was just that, unfortunately, voters, I believe, were lied to.
As they always are. So look, I think if you watch the show, I love Charlamagne, and I love that he got under Trump's skin here. And I love that he mentioned at the end when they said who could run for president, Jon Stewart, right? So those are all great. On this one is a rare disagreement I have with him. The traditional conservatives aren't coming back. They're traditional Republicans. Look, they win their elections just because they put a Republican next to their name. But the reality is, none of the voters are on their side. So I think that a person like Tucker Carlson, if he doesn't run, you've got any kind of politician running, maybe Josh Hawley, but not Tom Cotton, not Marco Rubio, not those neocons. Those guys are never coming back. So they're only going to go further MAGA. They're not. There's no return, right?
We'll see.
So if they, by the way, I hope they do. I hope they pick a dumbass corporate neocon, because they'll be super easy to beat.
So as we mentioned earlier, Trump was not happy with what Charlamagne had to say about him, and so he took to Truth Social to say, the very wonderful and talented Lara Trump, whose show is a big rating success, put racist sleazebag Charlamagne the God. Why is he allowed to use the word God when describing himself? Can anyone imagine the uproar there would be if our Christian lawmakers went to Israel and put a yarmulke on and debased themselves by sucking up to a foreign country? Sorry, he didn't write that part, that was my ad. Anyway, he continues, he's a low IQ individual, has no idea what words are coming out of his mouth, and knows nothing about me or what I have done, like just ending 5 wars, including a 31-year bloodbath between Republic of the Congo and Rwanda, where 7 million people have died, and there was no end in sight. He didn't know that, or India and Pakistan, or wiping out Iran's nuclear capabilities, or closing the horrendous open border, or creating the greatest economy, where prices and inflation have come way down. Goes on and on and on. Anyway, Charlamagne is low IQ. That's the heart of the argument here, and Trump is the best.
And a sleazebag. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. So Donald Trump found out that the guys that he took out a full-page ad to kill, the Central Park Five, had not committed the crime that they were charged with many years ago. And they told him, oh, we've got DNA evidence of the guy who actually did it. So they let him out. And Donald Trump said, they probably did something anyway. Gee, I wonder why he said that. I mean, I can give you 1,000 examples, right? So we're talking about racism. We're talking about racism. The guy who said maybe we should ban everyone from a Muslim country. We're talking about racism. Okay, anyways, sleazebag means someone who grabs people by the genitals without asking, someone who was convicted of sexual assault in a civil trial, okay? And do I have to keep going? Financial fraud throughout his life, etc. But my favorite is low IQ. Hey, if you're hiding your high school grades, you don't get to talk about low IQ. He hides his grades from high school and college and everywhere he went because he's a moron. But much more importantly, he's spoiled. So he got daddy to get him into these schools, and if you saw his grades, you know that he's an idiot of the most extreme proportions. I don't think he's anywhere near 100 IQ. So Charlemagne, on the other hand, started with nothing and built a media empire. Please, he'd be lucky to be a quarter of Charlemagne's intelligence.
So Charlamagne also responded to Trump on the Breakfast Club. Let's take a look at that.
You can hire a new labor statistics chief to lie about the numbers. It won't stop the reality of people being unemployed. Okay, you can tell falsehoods about inflation being down. It won't stop the reality of the price of consumer goods being high because of tariffs you implemented. So listen, President Trump, don't worry about Leonard. Okay, don't worry about Charlemagne the God. I know something I said hit a nerve and rattled you a little bit, but I don't want you rattled. I want you to end wars. Okay, I want you to keep the border secure. I want you to have the economy booming. I want booming. Okay, I want all these things to be true. I am an American. I don't care who's in the White House. I want America to succeed. Okay, believe it or not, I'm rooting for you, but I need you focused. And right now, you're not focused. Okay, we need you focused on two things: the economy and Epstein.
Yeah, the thing about Trump that made me lose any hope that he might do something positive in the direction of like foreign policy is like it was so easy for him to abandon his own base when it comes to foreign policy and carry out Epstein, right? And so I really thought that one of the characteristics that Trump has that he actually gets criticized for a lot, which is his own ego, would actually be handy in his second term as it pertains to Israel and Gaza. Because what man wants to be humiliated and dog-walked by a foreign country? I thought Trump had a little more pride than that, but apparently not, so.
Yeah, everything changed after Netanyahu came to America the last time. Trump went from stopping Israel on 3 different occasions, which we gave him credit for, to all of a sudden being back to put on a leash and walked around in humiliating fashion today saying, you won't get emergency relief if a tornado wiped out your house unless your state grovels to Israel and says that no one is allowed to boycott them. What is that? Okay, he's deeply corrupt. He totally works for Israel. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell transferred to a minimum security prison. Unbelievable, what an absolute outrage, right? She's a child rapist. And so, and why is she getting that treatment? I don't know. I mean, is she gonna do fake testimony against Democrats and leave Trump out of it? That's a possibility. The other possibility is her dad was the Israeli spy who stole America's nuclear secrets and gave them to Israel.
That's fact. That's verifiable fact.
And Ehud Barak, Prime Minister of Israel, visited Epstein 30 times. But you're not allowed to say these things. They're verifiable facts, okay? But hey, look at that. Yet another favor for Israel. Ghislaine Maxwell now in a country club. In minimum security prisons, they have tennis, you know that? It's an absolute country club.
If you are a pedophile and you're thinking about running for elected office at some point in your career, do your civic duty to the American people and don't run. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, and by the way, the only good news that comes out of this is if you are sleeping with children, Israel's probably recording it. Okay, so don't. Okay, all right, anyways. Charlemagne is right. I'll go further. Trump works for Israel and he's their bitch. And MAGA's also catching on to that. And so, okay, keep going in that direction. See how you like it. Did MAGA vote for Israel's bitch first? I don't think so, but Trump, you're about to find out.
All right, our bonus bonus episode is open to the public today. We're gonna talk about Cenk's Jubilee experience. We're gonna show you some highlights and some clips, so don't miss it. TYT.com/join, we'll see you there.
Hey guys, we're back, Cenk and Anna. We're gonna talk about my Jubilee episode in a second, but I gotta do a bunch of shout outs and comments because so many of you wrote in with so many great comments. First, Tim Powell, thank you for gifting 5 memberships on YouTube. Johnny Diamond, thank you for gifting 50.
Whoa.
Okay, so much love, Johnny Diamond, and to everyone who participates. Catnip Evergreen said, love you both, my kind of people, and they're a new member as well. On Super Chat, 00083 said, so now FEMA on behalf of Israel, a foreign government, telling American citizens what to do, and you'll not give us our tax dollars. Oh, F you.
Yeah. It's so enraging.
Enraging. Donna Monroe said, regarding Gaza, my husband made a good point. If Israel goes in and takes over Gaza, no one will be able to count the bodies and find out the actual death toll. That's true, but at that point, the death toll will be much, much, much larger, right? They're really gonna try to drive all the Palestinians out. You know how many people they have to murder to do that? What they're about to do, if you thought all of this was stomach churning, in order to take Gaza, they've got to somehow murder an enormous percentage of the 2 million Muslims that live there. That is, it's gonna get to Holocaust levels if they keep going. Drew Wilson says, we keep sending Israel money for defense when they keep attacking their neighbors. It's such an obvious lie, except no one in mainstream media figured it out. Titan says, 100% facts, Anna. These 2 past years are proof that we have no democracy. It is dead and it is getting worse by the day.
Yes.
Guys, I just want to just stop for a second. So sometimes there's good articles, like Anna mentioned the Instagram thing that Washington posted. So why do I keep saying mainstream media at large? Because if you talk about AIPAC, then 100% of mainstream media is united and go, no, that's anti-Semitic. You can't say that these congressmen aren't just doing it because they love Israel and that's their true beliefs. That's a maniacal lie, maniacal, preposterous, but they all insist on it to a man. Absurd. Thunder in my veins says every single something since 2001 administration is guilty as F, and now they are openly blackmailing and using federal funds towards their own people. I sent a long chat on the TYT member app onto the conversation. All right, I'll check that out. In Liberty and Guns We Trust says, yeah, unfortunately, morals, ethics, standards, respect for others, all of that went out the window with Israel. It's all pretend because power and money reign supreme. We're not as civilized as I thought. On Twitch, Captain Contralia says, love your Jubilee episode. Cenk made it tough on them by making them argue against facts. Thank you for saying that. Spurtech Dragon, thank you for resubscribing. Finally, on our website, Malvern Mike 4 TYT says, thank you, TYT. Your unwavering commitment to truth and media is the only thing holding many of us from digging trenches or using passports for one-way tickets. TYT.com/hope. Shelby says, I work at Paramount. We've been severely understaffed for 2 years. But sure, let's spend $250 million for something that has no value. To be fair to Free Press, they have some value. It's just nowhere near $250 million. So you're right, they're gonna give some 100, 150, whatever million extra for doing pro-Israeli propaganda while they say they have no money for their workers. It's obscene. And by the way, they just canceled Colbert because they said they don't have enough money. So they're gonna take the savings from that and give it to a pro-Israel blog. Amazing. Eclectic Miscellany, we should start calling Congress Knesset West. It's not a bad idea, and I might use that from some time, and then of course, people will be horrified. Jojo Dragon says, I have to be honest, I was one of those that was hesitant when you started talking to Charlie Kirk, etc. But I trusted Cenk's instincts because TYT has always been, for me, straightforward and on point many times before. And once again, I see and commend your usually solid viewpoints. Thank you for saying that, Jojo Dragon. Thank you for trusting us, that we were trying to do the right thing by you, and that we had the right strategy. So you're awesome for believing in us. Almost done. Cloud Gazer said, our politicians in Israel are not only committing genocide in Palestine, they're quietly allowing Americans to die or slip into poverty. How many here have died or gone bankrupt from lack of health care with or without insurance, not being able to afford their medications, not being able to pay their mortgage or rent, receiving inadequate unemployment support, and on and on. Yeah, but Cloud Gazer, you're not an Israeli. We're not Israelis. We don't deserve that money. Israel deserves that. They have to defend themselves. So you, on the other hand, you're an American, a lowly American, so you'll have to fend for yourself. Embedded Dude says, where would we be if Germany had a pact similar to AIPAC during World War II? Pretty sure we would be a fascist country under the control of Hitler's regime for the last 90 years. I'll tell you what, thank God we didn't have money in politics back then, because if the Germans had figured that out, we never would have gone into World War II. And so, yeah, no, Germany would have totally, any government can control us. Israel's just the first one to figure it out. Wang Jun said there were some Americans who defended Germany, and Germany called criticism against them, quote, anti-German sentiment. History is repeating itself right in front of our eyes. Tatiana in Japan says, so basically they're removing our right to protest under the guise of financial recourse. Yep, but I mean, how dare you as an American try to protest Israel? Know your role, know your place. Embedded Dude, the last one says, Bibi's not going to stop with Gaza, and Washington will keep sending him aid. Yeah, they're going to go after West Bank next. And then, by the way, they'll have some sort of pretense, and what will it be? Self-defense.
Okay, I hated pretty much everyone who you debated with for Jubilee, let me say that. And I guess that makes sense because the whole point was to debate pro-establishment folks. So let's get into the details.
We just don't want our money going to foreign countries.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
On drag events.
And by the way, that's another thing that proves my point. Republicans and Democrats always do whatever AIPAC tells them. So that is a foreign government.
That's a whole different argument.
It seems like you're downplaying very relevant and very important differences that exist between the parties.
Did you ever consider that they don't mean it? The reason that Joe Biden never tried to raise corporate taxes is because he doesn't want corporate taxes to go up. It was all a trick. It was all a game played on all of us.
No, I don't buy it.
No, I know. There was nothing they could do. That's why they didn't even bother trying.
Well, as you saw there, Cenk went on Jubilee's Surrounded, and it was unlike any other episode that they've done so far, mainly because instead of debating on behalf of the left or the right side of the political aisle, Cenk went up against the establishment in favor of populism.
Yep, it was 10 Democrats, 10 Republicans that I was up against. And I wanted to prove a point, which is that the parties are not on your side. The politicians are the worst people in America. They're not the best people. Mainstream media has been lying to you your whole life. It's a good cop, bad cop shell game. And so that's the conversation that we had. And I don't envy the people who had to debate me on this, not because they're debating me, but because my points here are kind of inarguable. So they wound up having to defend Joe Manchin and Ted Cruz, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah, and what I thought was really fascinating was that I could not really tell, unless the people you were debating with used some sort of political label, whether they were on the right or left side of the establishment.
Sometimes you really couldn't tell.
No, you couldn't tell. You couldn't, and I thought that was telling. Anyway, with that in mind, let's start off with one participant who seems to hate spending American taxpayer dollars on foreign countries, although he does make one exception.
But the overwhelming majority always goes to the rich. For example, in this bill, they're cutting Medicaid and SNAP by 1.1 trillion. Do you know how much is going to people making above $500,000 a year in tax cuts? 1.1 trillion, okay? So they're literally taking from the poorest people and giving it to the richest people.
Which is what the liberals have been doing forever. So what's the difference?
How are they doing? So no, brother, what I'm saying is you're actually proving my point. Democrats and Republicans constantly say that they have giant differences. Then what did the Republicans do? They do massive tax cuts for the rich. And then Obama, by the way, came in and actually made Bush's tax cuts permanent, which cost us even more than the original Bush tax cuts did. So there's a lot of theater about how they disagree. But at the end of the day, the rich always get tax cuts.
Save more money when Republicans are in office. Why do me as a business owner continue to save money?
So you know why? So I'm a small business owner. So we save a little bit of money. The giant corporations save a ton of money.
Isn't it better if everybody saves money?
No, it's not.
Why not? That makes no sense.
No, brother, it's easy to say, okay, then we shouldn't have any roads, bridges, cops, fire departments,
Nobody's
schools.
saying that. We just don't want our money going to foreign.
We shouldn't have any taxes.
We just don't want our money going to foreign countries.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
On drag events.
And by the way, that's another thing that proves my point. Republicans and Democrats always do whatever AIPAC tells them. So that is a foreign government.
That's a whole different argument.
No, it's not an argument. It's the same argument.
Okay, I mean, he says that's a whole different argument, and I would agree. So is he making an exception for Israel? Because if you want to talk about which foreign country leeches the most off of the American people, it's Israel.
Yeah. So look, I have actually sympathy for the folks that I debated, because they get thrown in, they don't know who they're going to debate, etc. And so they've got to make a case against this. But let's say they signed up for it, right? But so that guy in particular, for example, he's a right winger. But afterwards, he came up to me and said, "I'm kind of surprised at how much we agreed with you," right? And apparently a couple of the debaters then wrote in the comment section that they agreed with me. And including folks who don't necessarily like me, right? But guys, because it's obvious, our politicians are crooks. They take money from all these giant corporations and foreign governments and they serve them. So trying to defend them makes you look like mainstream media idiots, right? Everybody in cable news on New York Times, Washington Post, no, our politicians are honest. The money from AIPAC influencing them, well, they would never. You sound like an anti-Semite. The money from big oil leading to $35 billion a year going to big oil, why, that sounds outrageous. Are you saying the politicians are corrupt? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And by the way, look, I didn't hate all of them. In fact, I liked most of the people that I debated. I thought Zena did a great job. I thought Oliver and a bunch of the others did a good job. So I don't have a problem with them. It's just, we've got to break the mindset that mainstream media put into people's heads that these are our representatives. They're not, they're the representatives of the donor class.
All right, let's go to the third video where one Jubilee participant argues that, you know what, we just need to vote harder.
I have a lot of respect for you, but I worry about your progressive populism is dangerous. In fact, to me, you kind of sound like a political pickup artist. Like, just do this one trick and we can fix it all. And to me, it's no different than what MAGA is doing with their faux populism, with the deep state, with undocumented immigrants, someone to blame. You're just giving people corporate, corrupt Democrats or corporate media as an excuse. And I think you're just taking advantage of disaffected people and not showing them, we got to get more involved. We got to invest more. We got to try harder and get good people in there.
So I wanted to start off with his framing there because he feels, Cenk is dangerous. Like Cenk is discouraging people from engaging in the political system by voting. You're discouraging people, making them disaffected. I couldn't disagree more. I think the way things have been going, our political system has deteriorated. It's completely eroded. I mean, you don't think that corporate corruption of our politicians on both sides of the political aisle matters at all? Really? You don't think that matters at all? You don't think that has any impact on how these individuals govern the country? I think that is the most naive thing I've heard anyone say in the context of this whole event.
Yeah, but Anna, remember, so we've been on air for 23 years, 20 years on YouTube, original YouTubers, etc. right? So that guy's opinion is what I dealt with for 95% of my career with 95% of the people I dealt with. So if on cable news, when I was a host on MSNBC, Current TV, when I dealt with mainstream media reporters and so-called journalists, etc. They all say the same thing as him. There's no problem. Just vote harder for Democrats and everything will be fine. Then you go and you give the Democrats 60 senators under Obama. And they go, no, we needed 61. Oh, come on, guys.
The supermajority wasn't super enough. I know, there's always an excuse. So here's how Cenk responded to what he had to say.
So you're saying that don't even try progressive populism, just go along with the establishment Democrats because they know how to win. That's why they beat Donald Trump twice. Oh, right. They lost to Trump twice. They don't know anything. Their number one thing was, oh, we know how to win. They were liars. They didn't know how to win at all. They got clowned by a guy who's not that bright. Now, number two, oh, we have this giant agenda, $15 minimum wage, all the things that we've talked about throughout the day. Oh, golly gee, we just couldn't pass any of it. Oh, wow, okay. But hey, vote for an establishment Democrat. Don't get tricked by left-wing populism. Brother, do we actually ever try left-wing populism? Yes. Here's the three things we've tried. We've tried establishment Democrats, complete failures. We've tried establishment Republicans, complete failures. We tried fake populism under Donald Trump, complete failure.
I disagree.
So the only thing we haven't tried is left-wing populism. And you say, don't try it. Go back to the establishment Democrats. Go back to the donor class. Are you crazy?
I just don't understand the unwillingness to take stock of what just happened in the country as it pertains to the Democratic Party. Even before everyone finally realized, as a result of Biden's debate with Trump, that his brain had already melted, Biden's approval rating and the way he was performing in the polls up against Donald Trump made it abundantly clear, oh my God, like the Democratic Party is super unpopular, Biden is super unpopular. Voters are unhappy with how he handled his job in the White House. So why do you think that is? Why do you think he was so low in the polls? Was it because he did a great job looking out for struggling Americans in this country? Or could it be that people felt even more economic instability under Biden?
Yeah, but guys, there's something great about what happened on Jubilee. So, which is that, so if you look at the comments section, go online anywhere, yeah, there's a couple of haters, that's always gonna be the case, right? But overall, people are like, this is obvious, what Cenk is saying is obvious. But for most of my life, mainstream media gaslit you in like an almost gaslighting torture chamber where they're like, it's not obvious, it's not obvious. Joe Manchin is great. By the way, that guy said we need Joe Manchin. Okay, yeah, okay, so the fact that everybody's now saying, well, of course that's a ridiculous point. Of course the establishment politicians on both sides are full of crap is a beautiful day in America. Things are totally changing. So he said, you should tell people to get involved. Brother, you don't know me at all, okay? First of all, yes, get involved, get money out of politics. Fightcorruption.us, fightcorruption.us. And secondly, you said, is Cenk dangerous, right? But that goes to the point I was just making. Apparently I am. Apparently I'm the most dangerous man in America because all 3 cable news stations have me banned. Why is a guy who takes on 20 Democrats and Republicans, the internet seems to universally be saying, well, like it was almost not fair because it was so obviously correct, considered so dangerous by mainstream media, they won't allow me on air. Because I'm gonna say your beloved politicians are crooks and they can't stand that idea. Almost everyone in media agrees with him and not me. Isn't that amazing?
Not really, we're so used to it that I'm not surprised. But anyway, I'm kind of familiar with that guy. I think he does online content, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah,
anyway,
brother, go get a job at MSNBC.
For real, you'd be welcome there for sure.
New York Times will be like, brilliant reporting. Can't wait to have you on.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go to video 5.
You say the American Rescue Plan that took half the kids in poverty out of it, millions of kids who go to bed hungry, is crumbs, is doing nothing? That is a big deal. What about the millions of people who have health insurance now because of the Affordable Care Act subsidies? No, you can call whatever you want, but the reality is millions of people have health insurance today because of what the Democrats did when they controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House in 2022 under the Inflation Reduction Act and the American Rescue Plan. I can't stand that you call it crumbs. People don't want their whole lives given to them. They just want a little breathing room, like our big President Biden used to say.
So you say you're super happy with the 5 to 10% that the Democrats gave you.
It's not 5 to 10%.
There's two things here. Number one, I don't know what economic class you're in, but the average American is not happy with 5 to 10% change. They want giant change. They want the actual, by the way, the Democratic agenda is great. Our populist plank, the 6 most popular bills in the Democratic agenda, are super popular with independents and even with Republicans. But they never, ever do the most popular bills because they're economic bills. And you say that's good enough. But then why not try the entire agenda? Why not go with an economic populist like Bernie Sanders or Ro Khanna that's going to give you the whole agenda? Actually try.
The Obama administration bailed out the banks and sold out the American people as their homes were being foreclosed due to those predatory mortgages that Wall Street was championing in order to bundle those toxic mortgages up into securities and then bet against them in the stock market. Obama rewarded those guys. Obama paved the fucking way. I'm sorry. But he did. He paved the way for Donald Trump. Wake up, wakey, wakey, wake up. There is resentment toward both parties in this country for a good reason. They have turned their backs on the American people, period. But thank you for allowing me to get healthcare even if I have a pre-existing condition. That was important, but look at the bigger picture here for once in your life.
So sometimes people ask me, yeah, but did you guys say that when Obama was president? Good news, we've got thousands of videos online where you can see, yeah, we did.
Get to know our archives, bitches.
Yeah, so I used to call Obama, I said if Obama had a wrestling nickname, it would be the establishment. So banks were his #1 donors in the 2008 campaign. He bailed them all out. On top of that, he gave them bonuses. He gave them bonuses for crashing the economy. Okay, he made Bush's tax cuts permanent, which cost us more money than the original tax cuts. And when we had an economic recovery in 2010, over 90% of the recovery went to the top 1%. But hey, just keep voting for corporate Democrats, and one day, after thousands of years, they'll do half their agenda.
Yeah,
it's a trick.
I guess there's a part of me that's a little bit envious of the people who like to stand the establishment Democrats in Congress, right? Because I guess they have hope, right? They believe in something in Congress. I don't believe in any of them, okay? I'm too awake and I'm too jaded by what the reality is. Like, at some point, you have to finally accept the fact that the corporate politicians on both sides of the political aisle are screwing you. And maybe they're not screwing you in particular, right? Maybe you managed to hold on to upper middle class status, I don't know. But for the majority of Americans, they've been struggling and their economic conditions have not improved at all since the Great Recession in 2008. So like, get to know people, get to know what they're going through, what they're experiencing, how they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they're on the edge every single month because of how little money they're making as inflation rises.
Yeah, and by the way, one of the claims that I was defending was that the Republicans only care about the rich. So you should check out the whole episode because guys, Republican politicians, Democratic politicians, all crooks. All right, we got more.
All right, I want to go to F7 first because you've got a gentleman, I guess, defending Ted Cruz. And then later we'll go to one other video. Let's take a look at this.
He says to Tucker Carlson recently, I mean, yes, I've taken millions from AIPAC, but I just happen to have that position. I had it earlier. I mean, I know that AIPAC would give me millions of dollars if I say, let's give billions back from the American taxpayer to AIPAC. Let's make sure we support all their wars. Let's fight all their wars for them. Oh, look at that. I happen to agree with my donors.
How do you know that Ted Cruz is being disingenuous about his views on Israel? You still haven't answered the question.
That's the easiest question. question in the world.
If it's so easy, then answer it for me.
Okay, so you're saying your hypothesis, my hypothesis is Ted Cruz and the politicians take millions of dollars from donors and do exactly as they're ordered. And how do I know that? Because their voting record matches with their donors perfectly. You're saying, but maybe there's a hypothetical 1 to 2% chance that Ted Cruz just was born out of the womb loving Israel's wars. And he's like, I can't wait to give money to Israel. Whereas, oh, look at that. What a coincidence. AIPAC is giving me millions of dollars for.
I actually, in politics, try to assume good intentions on both sides. Well, sure, you can.
Wow, okay. Do not assume good intentions of politicians. Are you serious? Okay, by the way, Cenk, I mean, look, you're so focused on the money in politics for good reason. But I would have just answered with, I don't believe that Ted Cruz genuinely, out of his own heart, supports Israel, sincerely the way he does, because he couldn't even defend why. He couldn't even explain why in that Tucker Carlson interview. Yeah. Okay, he tried to cite the Bible for his support of Israel. And then when he was challenged on it by Tucker, he had no answer. He didn't even know which part of the Bible indicates that Cruz, as a Christian, must do everything in his power to support a foreign country, okay? A political government. I mean, he flailed in that interview because he can't even argue for why he supports Israel.
Real quick, I'll give you an example I've given a couple times on Young Turks. Ted Cruz said to Donald Trump, that I'm not going to endorse you back in 2016, and he wouldn't endorse him during the convention. Goes up to his main donors, the Mercer family. They'd given him $13 million in that primary. They slammed a door in his face in this fancy suite they have at the convention. Right afterwards, Ted Cruz endorses Donald Trump and starts phone banking for him. Because it's the money, Lebowski.
So pathetic.
After his donors said, you're not getting any more money, he changed his mind and his principles overnight. And he was like, oh yeah, never mind. I love Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, insult my wife all you want. You know what, you're probably right. She's probably ugly, okay?
That's
Mercer, please give me money again. This is the sick losers who are our politicians.
Yep, okay, finally, look, you addressed this. I think you addressed it well, but I want to talk about it too. Cenk gets confronted about being a business owner who's running a business.
Are you claiming then that all Democrats that take corporate money are against the people? Is that your claim?
Absolutely,
okay,
yes.
So then why did TYT take $20 million of corporate money?
Here we go again with personal attacks. Okay, no problem. No problem. I want to answer it. No problem. Okay, yeah. So $20 million is an investment.
Okay.
It is not here, take the money and then you do what we tell you to do. Everyone has, if you're building a business, you have to take investment to get to the next level.
Cenk, hold on,
if you don't take the investment, you're going to be tiny. Okay. So when a corporation does an investment, that's a perfectly logical and normal thing to do. When a corporation buys a politician and those politicians then vote with them, that is a terrible thing to do.
Okay, this is very simple, okay? A business investment means I see a business that's making money and I would like to invest in something where I would get a return on investment. That is how a business investment works. A legalized bribe, which is now totally baked into our political system, is, hey, Donald Trump, I'm Miriam Adelson. I'd like to give you $100 million in return for you allowing Israel to annex the West Bank, which, by the way, Israel is currently carrying out under the Trump administration. Do you understand that? Do you understand how a bribe works versus an investment in a company or a business?
Yeah.
But she built a business, so she would know, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So look, the reason why I said personal attacks is because there were specific topics we were debating. Are Democrats and Republicans similar? Are the Republicans only serve the rich? Do Democrats mean what they say? Out of left field, they're like, okay, how about TYT as a company? I'm like, wait, I didn't know that this was about me, right? I thought we were discussing policy.
Yeah, and
right?
by the way, she does raise an interesting point though, Cenk, because clearly after you took corporate money, we here at TYT have been very friendly to corporations.
And to the politicians who serve them, right? I mean, have you watched 1 minute of TYT?
Listen, if you don't have a sound argument on the politics and you're gonna weigh in on personal attacks, you've already lost the argument.
Yeah.
You've got nothing.
So that's why.
So go ahead and defend your establishment Democrats with an actual substantive argument instead of a personal attack against a guy who started a business and needed an investment so people don't lose their jobs.
So look, that's why it's sidewinders, right? I'm like, okay, now you see why Democrats are not being honest with you. She's like, so you got detention in 7th grade.
So stupid.
Wait, what does that have to do with this argument? Anyways, so what's interesting though and ironic about that is she's presumably on the left. That's the same exact argument Ben Shapiro made in our Politicon debate.
I know, exactly, because there's really no difference.
Right, because yeah, when you get to corporate Democrats and corporate Republicans, they're like, no, politicians taking money to sell out our government and hand over our domestic and foreign policy to their donors, not a problem. A business taking investment money to grow larger, the very core of what they're supposed to do as a business, huge problem. And Ben Shapiro thinks that, but he made that point too. So, okay, that means no, they're giant hypocrites. They don't believe that at all. They're just trying to find a way to smear you and distract people. And why are they trying to distract from that point? Not to attack the Young Turks, but so that they can get you to think, oh, the politicians taking the money is no big deal. It's just like Nike taking money for an investment. No, when they give Nike money, it's so that they can get
a return on investment.
Right, they can get a return on investment.
They want their money to make more money, okay? They see a business that's working, they're like, ooh, a money-making opportunity. Keep doing what you're doing, here's an investment, hopefully I get a return on investment.
But when they give money to a politician, what they want in return is our government. That's why it's wrong. And as I explained in the clip, it's not wrong to have a corporation, it's just wrong to have a corporation that's allowed to buy politicians.
Exactly.
Okay, so look, check out the whole thing, and I thought it was a super interesting conversation. It was more aggressive than I expected, but hey, I was born for this, so I liked it overall. And so, if it's part of a awakening, and you see it in the comments section in the video, right? Like finally, we Americans are beginning to understand, no matter what your ideology is and no matter where you are on the political spectrum or the ideological spectrum, none of that matters if our politicians take corporate donor money and foreign government donor money, because then they're not having real debates and they're not gonna represent you. They're just gonna represent their donors. And that's what the current state is. Guys, that's why we need not a little bit of change, like, oh, we decided to negotiate drug prices on 1 to 10 drugs. No. We need to get the money out so that they actually represent us on all issues. If you don't get the money out, they're gonna represent us on no issues. Money in politics isn't the most important issue. It's really, until we solve that, it's the only issue. Because you can't win on any of the other issues if our representatives aren't our representatives, they're the donors' representatives. So that's why I keep talking about fightcorruption.us, and that's Wolfpack to get money out. We want it to be as nonpartisan as possible, and help Rebellion PAC. There's a literal rebellion going on within the Democratic Party where candidates are saying, I'm not taking any corporate PAC money anymore, and I'm actually gonna do those bills, the ones that are super popular. So go support rebellionpac.com. Join the rebellion.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, I guess.
Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney We covered this story earlier and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked.
My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed, so I won't stop. You won't stop either.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me, dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
All right, welcome to the conversation. We're gonna have a really interesting conversation about whether Oregon can actually get universal health care for its citizens. Is that really possible? And then what would be the ramifications of that? Is that a little experiment we could do in a state that could have huge positive consequences maybe for America? Well, we'll find out. Nick Byron Campbell's joining me. He's with The Lever. He's also a volunteer for Healthcare for All Oregon. There's both good news and bad news coming out of Oregon. So first, welcome, brother. How you doing?
Good. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much, Cenk. Yeah, doing great.
No problem. So did Oregon pass a constitutional provision for universal health care?
Well, it's not exactly for universal health care, but in 2022, the state did pass a right through ballot measure. So the population itself passed this, a right to accessible and affordable health care. So that is now in our Bill of Rights, which we are the only state in the country with that constitutional right. So it is a pretty powerful springboard for any additional actions in healthcare.
Now, United Health, of course, is fighting back, of course, in a lot of different ways. Yeah. So we're gonna get to that in a second. But first, so okay, what does that right mean? Does it have any practical effect, and are they trying to implement it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it certainly ultimately will have a practical effect. I would say that the state hasn't necessarily yet operationalized it, as in like no new sort of healthcare system is in place that addresses that specific right. But it is, again, I would say like a baseline that's been built that makes Oregon unique in this country as it works towards universal healthcare. We have our state government has put together a governance board that is right now, as we speak, working on a universal health care plan that will ultimately go to the legislature, and we're expecting it to end up as a ballot measure in the next couple of years here. But the actual shape that takes, we'll see. I think that the key thing here is that Oregon has set this baseline that no other state has set, and is now actively working towards putting forward a real universal healthcare plan. The state's been doing an incredible job investigating this since 2019 now. So it's a really thorough plan. The preliminary findings were that it would not just expand access to care, but it would save the state $1 billion a year almost. And like as when they were running the numbers for what 2026 would look like if we had this plan in place, or a plan. So it's pretty powerful and very possible here.
So Nick, look, part of the reason to do these conversations is to learn, right? And I'm trying to learn as well.
No, for sure, yeah.
So it's not fully formed, so it's really hard to put contours around it. But having said that, like I've never really quite understood how I'm for universal health care, I'm for Medicare for all on a national level. At the state level, I've never quite understood how you execute that. Like how do you have a separate rules in Oregon and a different rule in the rest of the country?
Okay, so that's a really, really good and important question. And there's like a few layers to that answer. One is there is a precedent for getting waivers related to sort of federal laws or requirements. So in the 90s, actually, Oregon was at the forefront of Medicaid expansion at the time through the Oregon Health Plan. And that actually did require a waiver from Bill Clinton at the time because it was ahead of its time. It was not in compliance with all the federal regulations. And so, that is something that can be done. A waiver can be gotten from the federal government to allow things that maybe aren't currently sort of happening within the existing framework. We're attuned to the fact that, the current administration may not be totally in line with where we want to go with this, but this is also an issue that has a longer time frame than just a couple of years. So, the administrations change. But, beyond that, there are, that's part of what the state's looking into is these sorts of waivers or other ways that a plan can be activated. That's actively being worked on.
Is it possible that insurance companies would pull out of Oregon saying, well, okay, if you guys are gonna make us cover everyone, we don't want it?
Well, no, this would be administered by the state. So, that sort of, it gets around that issue.
So then the state covers it and it becomes what, then a kind of a public option within the state?
Yeah, exactly.
So then you could go United Health or you can go with Oregon Health, for example.
Yeah, again, the final outline of the legislation is being worked on now, but I would say it would be more like you would go with the Oregon Health Care Plan. You would be that the state would cover care, and that's I believe there will likely be options like wraparound options for if people want to get additional care. But again, these things are not necessarily set in stone yet here.
Yeah, look, I'm a little afraid because it's much harder, I think, I hope I'm wrong, to do it at the state level than it is the national level. And so if it doesn't work, I'm afraid of how it'll be perceived. But if it does work, then we're in amazing shape. And since the national level is such a disaster and they're all crooks and they're never gonna do anything anyway, so you guys might as well try it. So go for it. And I have to.
Oh yeah.
Well,
so I would just say well, go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say it's like with Mamdani. In this case, I actually agree with it. Mamdani has some policies that I'm so on. But try it. Let's see what happens, right? Because because the status quo sucks. So anyone telling me, oh no, change would be so, dangerous. No, the current system is dangerous. But you were gonna say.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, just to what you said exactly right there, I would say the status quo in healthcare is beyond just not good. It's completely unsustainable. So I actually don't think this is an option. And should Oregon not succeed at this, I mean, call me crazy. I know it seems impossible, but a lot of things in politics seem impossible until they happen. I don't see that there's a way that universal healthcare is not existing in some form inside of this country in the next 10 years or so, or to 15 years. I mean, which might seem like a long time in some regards, but politically isn't that long. But I mean, it's just a wildly unsustainable system. The amount of bureaucracy alone that exists in our healthcare system. I mean, a lot of people that argue for free markets argue about, everything should be a market for the reasons of, expediency and having efficiencies and all this. I mean, you could not imagine or create a more inefficient system than what we have with healthcare. And so, I mean, healthcare for Oregon is nonpartisan. And I mean this in all honesty, I would have this conversation, and I think even a person that loves the idea of free markets for reasons of efficiency should be open to what this state is working on, because the status quo is so wildly bureaucratic and just difficult and not streamlined that I can't see how it exists in the current form for a whole lot longer. And so I just think Oregon's at the forefront of something that is going to happen in this country. I'd love to see Oregon be the state to do that. I hear your concerns about federal versus state. I mean, it'd be wonderful if the federal government stepped up here, and who knows, again, no one can read the future. Maybe something happens federally in the next few years. But I do think that states can be that sort of laboratory that, conservatives love to talk about that too, the laboratory of our democracy, the laboratories. And in this instance, Oregon is so well set up for this. The state has really done an incredible job of setting the stage for making this possible in a way that no state has ever done it in this country.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that answers your entire question.
No, it does. So look, and you're right that it's nonpartisan. Republicans want healthcare too. They
totally.
Right? They don't want their kids to get cancer and then they don't have health insurance, right? The only people who object are crooks, otherwise known as politicians. So now let's talk about the fight back. So United Health is going after Oregon Medical Group in Eugene, Oregon. Do you know about this? What's going on there?
Yeah, so through Optum, and specifically Optum Oregon, which are subsidiaries of United Health, I mean, it's massive, conglomerate. They have purchased medical groups in Oregon, and sort of most notably, they took over Oregon Medical Group in Oregon. In Eugene, Oregon, and this is a medical group that has been around for a long time, but as I understand it, ran into some difficulties in the COVID era, which was not uncommon, and dealt with it by taking an offer from Optum. So now, they're being managed by this, subsidiary of a conglomerate, and the fallout of that has been pretty negative in the Eugene area. A lot of doctors left the practice. And then beyond just leaving the practice, there are non-competes written into these contracts, so they can't now practice in the area. So when Oregon Medical Group loses a doctor, it's not just that practice that lost a doctor, it's that area. And so this has left thousands of people without coverage. Sorry, not without coverage, but without doctors. So they have to go looking for care. There's been a marked increase in emergency room usage in that area, which can be is often sort of a signifier that people don't have access to the primary care they need. And this is just one example. I mean, this has been happening around the country, and it also is happening in other parts of Oregon with other groups. Oregon Medical Group was just particularly large, and it had particularly large effects on the community there. So that really did become sort of a rallying cry for people that wanted to see reform. And that ultimately led the state to pass a bill this year, which it wasn't directly tied to this issue with United Health and Optum, but I think politically it sort of helped push that through. Senate Bill 951 here in the state, which aims to, and that was signed into law by our governor this year, and it aims to get rid of previous loopholes that allow private equity and corporations to manage and run most medical groups that previously were physician run. And the idea here is that when these groups come in, whether it's private equity or just large corporations, they're not looking at they may say otherwise, but come on, we all know their goal is not a happy community or a healthy community. Their goal is profit.
No.
Listen, even if I were gonna yeah, and I'll even give them the benefit of the doubt. It's like like that's fine in certain parts of life, sure, but not healthcare is deeply personal.
Yeah, I mean,
we all deal with this. We are all going to end up in a situation where we need it, and it cannot be driven by brutal market logic. It just can't.
So. Yeah, no, I'm given to understand by mainstream media morons that companies can be patriotic, and they really care about our healthcare. No, they don't. It's like they're producing jeans or sneakers or burgers. They don't care. The profit is what they care about. In fact, they're not human. They're not human. God, reporters are so stupid overall if they work in mainstream media. This is the lever, so they're doing great work. I don't know. Do they care about profit? Yeah, they legally have to care only about profit. You idiots. Yeah. All right. Anyways, you said two things there that's interesting, and I want to go back to it because I'm like, wait, really? So did you say, or did I misunderstand you, that they made the doctors sign non-competes?
Yeah, and that's part of what has been outlawed in this Senate Bill 951 here, or just they won't be doing that anymore. But previously, yes. So these corporations would take over a practice, do things to it that led the physicians to want to leave, but they signed these non-competes, so they couldn't just move across the street and practice. So, like I said, the real fallout there then is people lose access to their doctors.
No, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I want people to understand what that means. Yeah. That means, okay, hey, I signed up with you guys, but then now you're dirtbags and you violate every part of your contract, so I want to go somewhere else. Okay, you have a non-compete, so you can't work in this town, so you have to leave the state. What?
Yeah.
I mean, that's insanity. So then the area is going to have less doctors. The doctors are going to be chattel to these corporations and can't leave them. So anyway, they got rid of that. But corporations always more, and I get it. That's their remit, if you will, right? But it's the job of our democracy to check these guys. Otherwise, they do ludicrous things like this. So one other thing you mentioned there, Nick, that I wanted to make sure. You said, so did they now make a rule in Oregon that these practices have to be purely physician run and these private equity guys can't buy them anymore, or no?
I believe that it has to be 51% owned by, operated and owned by a physician. The actual law itself also takes some time to come into full force. So there is a period of time right now when there will not, where there won't necessarily be rapid changes as this happens, but yeah, the ultimate goal of it, and actually I should state, since the 1940s, Oregon has had a doctrine in place to try and avoid this. It's just private equity and corporations sort of found some fun loopholes where they realized they could. Have one of their own doctors suddenly, manage a practice out here. And so Oregon has always technically been trying to mitigate this from happening, but basically loopholes were figured out through the years. So yes, now the state has put in place this law as of this year, where the majority stake is held by physicians, so that majority stakes will not be held by private equity or outside corporations, which then allow them to sort of make the operational decisions about how these places can run and operate.
All right, well, so this turned out to be a really encouraging interview because we found out that there's one state who is not giving everything to corporations, who's fighting back against corporate rule a little bit. So let's go Oregon. All of a sudden we'll start rooting for the Ducks.
Yeah, there you go. It's very, I do want to drive home that Oregon has a unique opportunity here. And I'll just break this down as quick. I know we're about at the end here, but I'll say it. This is sort of my way of describing it. There's sort of three elements to what Oregon's doing. We have the right. We got Measure 111 passed. We have a constitutional right to affordable and accessible healthcare. Number two, we have the plan. Since 2019, this state has been working. So there's nothing casual about what's happening here. The state's been officially working towards developing this, what would be the universal healthcare plan for the state. And then we have the fight as actually through the decades, Oregon's been at the forefront of, these kinds of issues on healthcare, but specifically in this last year, our legislature showed that they are willing to, take some strong stances against corporations in healthcare. So this is a real thing, and that's why Healthcare for All Oregon. We are, we're organizing people now to get ahead of when the legislation hits the table, because it's going to be an intense battle. The people making a lot of money off the status quo are not just going to let a state have universal healthcare, and we're aware of that. And I don't say it as a negative thing. I look at it as a challenge that we're ready to take on, and if it can happen anywhere in the country, it can happen here in Oregon. So yeah, we're pretty stoked at Healthcare for All Oregon to be at the forefront of this.
All right, brother, that's my kind of language there. I'm ready for the fight. I want the fight. The fight's in Oregon, guys. All right, so I like it. So everybody go help out Healthcare for All Oregon. Okay, Healthcare for All Oregon. Everybody go read The Lever. That's where Nick Byron Campbell works. The Lever is excellent journalism. It's the opposite of mainstream media journalism. They do really terrific reporting. We love those guys. And I like that Oregon is now telling corporate rule, duck you. Okay.
Oh man, I'm gonna steal that one. I haven't heard that yet.
Well, look, I'm a professional, not a big deal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you are. You got the juice. So.
Yeah, professional dad jokes here, 24/7. All right.
Love it. Yeah.
Anyway, Nick, you're awesome. Thank you for coming on and educating us. We appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Cenk. Yeah, it means a lot. Yeah. Take care.
You too.